Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, Punk Lawrence, or many other worse words that I've been called. Feel free to call me any of it. But there's a few words you probably shouldn't. You can go back and watch a couple of those lives where I lose my lid and yell about shit. Anyway, today I want to thank my special guest, Charlock Prime. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. How's your week been treating you?
It's been an interesting one.
Are you closing in? I mean, do you work on the weekends?
Now, well, I go on call every couple of months, but most of the time no weekends. But
For the most
it's
part,
been a
you're
long
looking
week, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Me too. I have all next week off, so it's that much better. Where it's like get through tomorrow, take the next 9 days off, create content. I got the Black Friday giveaway, which I was going to do yesterday so I could drop it tomorrow, but I didn't. So it'll get done tomorrow, so I can go out on Saturday. That's it. And we have Tony's fix quickly with the Charlock Club
Tony,
Tarkin. Yes. Are you the first member of Club Tarkin that I've had on since? I'm trying to think.
Pop was on.
Pop after?
Yeah.
Okay. I was telling you earlier, like you really start to like you start to forget who you've had on, and especially the order. I know that Allison was first and Tony was a second. That's what I can remember. So, and quickly, I guess we'll start this off right away.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Afflicted Studios with a 1999 super chat. Thank you very much. Another great stream with Punk and friends. Punk, small request to make a video of a custom wrestler figure. Shockmaster, please. I don't do customs. Maybe he's talking to you. Do you know who the Shockmaster is?
I don't.
Oh my gosh. It wouldn't be hard to do either. So the Shockmaster in the WCW days, before they were good, they just were awful. They brought in. Did you watch wrestling at all?
Yeah. Well, I did back in like WWF.
Okay.
Long.
You got really grumbly there. You sound like you have a case of the grumble duffs.
Oh.
Yeah, did you hit your microphone? You were sounding perfectly fine before.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, no, you sound awful.
Oh no.
Oh no. So I was wondering if you did something because everything was working really good before we're talking for like 15 minutes. Is it me, guys, or can you guys let me know?
No, it's me. I can hear you just fine.
All right. Yeah, so something happened with your microphone. I don't know if you need to reset it or what. Can't really do an interview like this or a talk or whatever we want to call this. I don't like calling this an interview. It's a chat with someone, but I guess why I didn't put interview in it. You changing anything there?
Yeah. How's that? Is that any better?
Nope. Seriously, like there was no problems at all before. Now it's just completely. I'm gonna let you mess with that. I'm gonna say hi to everyone in the chat. Hopefully, we can get this going properly. Everything was working fine though. So quickly, let's get to it. Same time, Toys has joined us. We have Menhoza. We have GI Bro, who had the biggest guns. Actually, kind of glad he didn't join us at Club Tarkin because he would have made us all look really bad with those. You could even call them guns at that point. They would have been the those floaties that kids had, right? That we always acted were big. SCS Dog is here. Tony's Figs is in the house. We have Todd C. We have a 3-star draw. Another member of Club Tarkin. Christoph Scuba is here. One moderator, Matthew Matson. We have I Love Football. U.S. Combat Dojo has joined us. Bobby Wold. Hey, I know that guy. I don't have any giveaways, Bobby. That is next Friday. So be there. Afflicted Studios, who we have already said hi to. My other moderator, Action Figs, who had left Joe Fest. So he didn't get to join. He didn't get to partake in Club Tarkin either. We have Clint Jorgensen is in the house. Jay Astro. We have Cobranomics. Hello, all. I almost said I don't remember ever seeing you here, but I do remember seeing you here. So thank you for joining again or coming back around. Tripwire 788 is here. I think that is everyone. Oh, Gun Bunny Customs. Good evening, everyone. I got work tonight, so I'll have to catch the replay. Gun Bunny, I started watching, got through like half of your first. It's not Tiger Paw, the Tiger. I don't know, the Tiger helicopter that you're doing. I got through like half of it as you were like breaking it down and everything, and you're a trooper to do that. And then Viper Scout has joined us. And Bobby Wold says, I heard if you say giveaway 3 times in the mirror, Bobby shows up. It's just, I hope it's the right Bobby that shows up. All right, Charlock. Do we have sound?
Is that any better?
No.
No?
Did you change any? You didn't change anything?
I didn't touch anything.
Yeah, you're like cutting out. Like, did you check your wires? Make sure nothing got pulled out?
Yeah.
Tony's Fig says, Charlock, Punk, 3-star Pop, Moody, Baldy, and me, right? The Murphy boys and some AWA crew are Club Tarkin. Don't know who I missed, if anyone. The funniest part is the AWA guys don't even realize they're part of Club Tarkin. They just showed up there, and it was actually pretty funny. like we're making all these jokes, and they're just there, and it was the 2 AWOC guys and the one guy's wife, I believe. So very entertaining. God, Joe Fest was a total blast. But I'm going to be talking to myself for the next couple hours if I don't know what happened here. Do I need to bring in another member of Club Tarkin here or what? I mean, well, now you're on mute.
How's that?
Nope.
Still rough, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's like disconnecting. Like it's disconnecting and not like it's not connected.
Hang on.
It's all.
Okay. Let me change one thing here and see if that makes any difference.
But I mean, it doesn't sound so. I mean, you disappear, but it almost sounds like it's just not plugged in all the way.
Yeah.
That's why I said like I would try and reseat it there. But early, I mean, we didn't have any noise or we didn't have any problems at all when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is.
There, now you sound okay.
Hang on.
No,
Now it's okay?
I don't know. It's delayed. Like you start talking and it doesn't pick up till after.
I don't know what the difference is. Hang on one second.
Anyway, guys. So how is everyone else treating you? If you guys don't know what Club Tarkin is, and most of you don't, while we were at Joe Fest, we headed down to the pool, as you know, guys always do, go hang out at the pool together on their vacation. And we started playing some. I don't even know how the music got started. Look at that. Now I can hear myself. I love hearing myself. It's like music to my ears. And as the music went on, and then Tony did his little video discussing Tarkin for May the Force Be With You. And if you haven't watched it, please head over to Tony's Figs and watch his Tarkin video because you'll find out some interesting stuff about our main man, Grand Moff Tarkin. And so somehow we coined the name Club Tarkin for the pool. Tony is saying Charlock needs to reboot and come back.
Maybe so.
I don't know. There was yeah. You have the echo, so you have. So I think you have the volume on, but we didn't have this issue at all.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell changed.
So yeah, you might want to try and reboot the computer. Come back
How's
in.
that? Is that any better?
No,
at all?
there's like total static on it. I mean, Matthew, jump on
Alright,
here
but-
really quick, so I'm not talking to myself here.
Yeah, let me drop it. I'll come back up.
But Krusty Old Crow has joined us. Hey, what's up, chat? Punk, Charlock. Instant like button action. Yes, please hit that like button. I guess this is the perfect time. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, please feel free to ask me because right now I do not have a guest. We have a Derek Van Wee has joined us. Charlock, call Mac Tracker. He'll fix it. If you can get somebody to fix it, that's all we need. It doesn't even need to be Matt Tracker. It could be, I don't know, some of the YouTubers that don't like me. Maybe they'll come and fix it. Or maybe they've sabotaged it because the fear of how awesome this show is. We have a Stanley Eberhard who has joined us. Is there anyone else we missed? Anyone? Aaron the Toy Enhancer has joined us. Eric, wait, hold on. Aaron the Toy Enhancer says, make sure your YouTube is off and log back in. Yeah, if anyone knows about having sound issues, it would probably be Aaron the Toy Enhancer because I swear to God, anytime I've ever seen him do a live, whether he's on someone else's or on his, it's awful. And he has the worst network ever there in Georgia. Eric Thurman, did your dragonfly break? Mine did not. Mine is sitting right there, looking beautiful as ever. I think if you just take care of it properly, it works. And we have Miguel Reed who has jumped in here. Man, I may have to tag you in and have you come in and do this because our buddy Charlock has somehow completely crapped the bed with his microphone, which was working. Like we talked for about 20 minutes before. Tony says that his dragonfly is excellent where he has no room to put it, but he's going to deal with it anyway. Derek loves his. Honestly, I really do think it is. For the most part, there's very little to complain about with the whole dragonfly. In my personal opinion, nothing is ever perfect, but all right. Let's try now.
How's that?
That sounds much better. Does everyone sound better, everyone? I don't know why I'm asking. No one can actually speak. Well, okay. So we're going to skip over the whole how good are you with technology because we already know that Charlotte sucks at technology.
I won't tell you what I do for a living.
Don't tell me you're an IT guy. Anyway, I don't totally forgot. I think we were talking about I don't know what we're talking about. Doesn't matter. We got other stuff to get into. Anyway,
I had to drop at Club Tarkin, so
yeah. All right. So let me ask you, where does the name Charlock Prime come from?
So Charlock is actually I used to be into gaming pretty heavily when I was in my late teens, early 20s.
Okay.
And Charlock is actually the name of the castle from the Dragon Slayer or Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest video games from the original NES.
Okay.
And I just liked the sound of it, so I picked it up, and that became my kind of my tag for everything I did following that. Yeah, I used it. I mean, I played Halo a lot. I played Halo in like a national tournament at one point, and yeah, it just kind of followed me around.
I feel like we talked about you playing Halo when we were at.
We might have.
That just kind of rings a bell. Like there's something about national gaming, and somehow you're able to have kids. God, that's crazy. So where does the Prime come from?
Well, I was a Transformer collector for a long time. That just I tacked that on the end of that a million years ago.
So whenever I see Charlock, I don't know why, but I think of me Lucky Charms. So I hear Charlock. I thought you were foreign. I don't know why. I don't know why Charlock. Um, I don't know why Charlock made me think of um uh like the Lucky Charms, but I did. So
Yeah, I've never heard that one
I
before.
yeah no, and again, like it doesn't even now I think about it. I think like, oh wow, like when you messaged me about the Discord and everything, I thought it was like some global. I mean, I know it can be a global Discord because there's people from all over, but
Right.
that's kind of what I thought it was when I saw the name. So I'm always expecting like me Lucky Charms, and you have a pot of gold, and uh,
Well, and I had no idea that it. I guess it's a plant.
okay.
It's a type of plant that I didn't find that out for. I never knew that until probably the last 15 years or so, 10, 15 years.
And Poplander's jumping in here saying, "I love the original Dragon Quest sequels. Good stuff. I love the original. Oh, and the Dragon Quest sequels. I
Yeah.
think I played Dragon Quest.
Yeah, Dragon Warrior. It was Dragon Warrior in the US, I think, until
Yes,
until
because I never got Zelda. I had Dragon Warrior for the NES.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's why. Which was a very I'm not gonna say it was the same game. Very similar style game.
Yeah, very similar.
But Zelda was obviously way more popular. Uh, all right, let's see. Krusty says it sounds like Shamrock. That's what it might. That actually might be.
Oh
The
yeah,
reason.
maybe so. I can see that.
And
I get
I mean, I have like seriously, I have no reason like why it would be like that.
I've been
But
asked if it was a type of grill, like Charlock, and I've been a million times I've been called Sherlock.
yeah, see, I wouldn't say that because Sherlock is very.
Right. I
It's
always
very.
like, how do you spell Sherlock? I I don't spell it with a CH, but
clearly, they've been saying no shit, Sherlock.
I've heard that one too.
So do you mind me asking how old you are?
43, coming up on 44.
All right. So you're in the age range, so a little bit younger than the rest of us. Um, so you're right in that age range. Were you looking at 79, 80?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you were coming in by the time you knew stuff. Probably G.I. Joe, Star Wars was probably on its way out, but the movies were there
Yeah,
for you to see.
I had growing up, like when I was real young, it was most of what I got that was like Star Wars or like Motu or Thundercats was like given to me by older kids that were moving on from those things. Especially, I had a lot of secondhand Star Wars stuff. That was probably one of the lines that I had the most from.
Yeah, there's a few secondhand lines I feel like we all had. Bobby Wold asks, "Are you moving into doing custom mass figures to inspire Lenny to get going on that line since he seems to mimic all the custom Joes you do?" Well, you're gonna have a fighting words there with Tony's Figs there because he feels they steal all his stuff.
Tony and I talked about that a little bit at Joe Fest too.
Yeah, just understand, and I mean this in all honesty, Bobby. I don't know how well you know it. They can't do something like that without having permission. That's something Lenny would probably have to go to, who's ever in charge of the GI Joe brand and have them go up and say, "Hey, we want to do a mask figure and put it in the line." They shouldn't have a problem doing it because they own it all. At least I believe they own the whole property. Where like stuff where like Power Rangers, I believe they have they dually own something. I'm sure when it comes to, I've been saying like the Transformers crossovers, that's on the Transformers side, not on the GI Joe side. That's why if you go to like Hasbro Pulse, you'll find them on the Transformers side, not on the GI Joe side, because it's probably easier that the Transformers like, "Hey, we want to do this." GI Joe, all right, well, our property, so it doesn't really matter. It's pretty simple, I think.
Yeah, especially now that they're not really doing any O-ring stuff on in the Hasbro house.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Yeah. Other than the Transformers, which again makes absolutely no sense, but whatever. I don't try and make sense of what Hasbro does. All right.
I've told Bobby no shortage of like 150 times that I want a 6-inch mask line. So that's probably where that question comes from.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream for sure, but man, it would be.
Oh, okay. There's a running joke on the Discord. I know I'm in that Discord. I'm in there all the time. Dude, I can't keep up with all the shit I have going on, and like, I try, man. Like, I pop in, I feel so bad because, you gave me a section, and then I look, and it's like, Migs here will ask me a question, or Bobby Wold will, and it's like 2 weeks old, and I'm like, man, they probably think I'm like the biggest like pompous asshole because I don't ever respond, and I'll answer the question, and like a couple hours later they respond, and I understand because, like, I mean, that's how I am with certain platforms. Like, it just instantly comes. I get the message and everything. So it's it's definitely one of those.
Yeah,
I'm not ignoring anyone. If anyone in the Discord, don't ever go to my Discord or any Discord. I just don't hit the Discord as often as I probably should. So, all right. Where did you grow up at?
Midwest, in and around Nebraska, where I'm at now.
Nebraska. Remember we discussed?
Yeah, Nebraska.
Nebraska. Isn't that story awesome? Like as long as that guy was on the radio, like they were like that. Nebraska became that was the new name of that state, Nebraska, because some woman when they did it was like pick 3, I think it is, and name three states with the name "new" in it, and one was Nebraska. New York, New Jersey, Nebraska.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm sorry about that. That is incorrect. But thank you for the years and years of entertainment. So I can't even say Nebraska without saying Nebraska. So
yeah, I was born here. I was actually born in Omaha, and then lived in and around Omaha and Iowa and Missouri, and just within 3 hours of Omaha, basically. And I'm 2 hours from there now, but
lots of corn.
Yeah, lots of corn. I actually, no joke, my house is surrounded by cornfields. My properties.
All those states are surrounded by corn, no matter where you go. I've never seen so much corn in my life driving through Iowa into Nebraska. Coco Smooth, the casual collector, says that Matt Tracker is money.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, you know what? You won, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, people. There is something about that mask line that people seem to absolutely love, and
he's my desk figure right now. So,
well, we'll get into him later. Let's get into it. Try to say. I'm so ADHD when it comes to like trying to stay on track. So, growing up, did you have any siblings?
I have a younger brother. I have other siblings that I don't know. My birth father, my blood father, I don't know him. And he had kids before me and had some after me, so I don't know them. But I have a younger brother that I share a mom with. And so
How much younger? How much younger?
6 years.
Oh wow! So I mean that's a big gap there.
Yeah,
so you didn't have a built-in play friend when you were younger.
No, not until he got old and a little older. But we were into comics and stuff at the same time, and both of us grew up loving music. So we still have a lot of similar tastes in music and other pop culture stuff other than like action figures and stuff.
So what do you remember, like what your first memories of like your first toys that you played with? And I know, like I said before, like for me and most people my age, it's Hot Wheels, it's Adventure People, it's even the Little People. Like, do you remember like the first toys you played with? Not the ones maybe you first fell in love with, but Do you remember like the first toys you played with?
Yeah, sort of. So I'm also the oldest grandchild. So, and my brother is the next oldest. So I was by myself essentially, as far as grandkids go. And we lived with my grandma when I was little. And we didn't have a lot of money. So like I said, a lot of my stuff was either secondhand from older kids or stuff that my grandma got at a thrift store or something like that. But I had a Mr. T figure, and it was like a five points Mr. T figure in the style of Motu, but it wasn't official, so it had like a weird soft Motu head.
It wasn't one of the 18 figures.
No, it was not an 18 figure.
Really?
Yeah, and he didn't come with any accessories, so he just had like the Motu shorts, and no armor or shirt or anything like that. But I love that thing. That was,
and you know what? Especially as a kid, like you didn't need to be something name brand. We didn't know what a name brand was,
right.
And we knew what GI Joe was, and we knew those core figures were just cheap knockoffs. But I mean, if we didn't have GI Joe and you just got the core, you probably wouldn't notice. It wouldn't bother you that much. So, I mean, did you have other? I mean, you said you had a lot of hand-me-downs. Is there anything else that just rings a bell other than the fake Mr. T?
Star Wars was big. Kenner Star Wars was big. When I got older, when my mom met my brother's dad, he was big into Star Wars. And so I remember like the first Christmas that I remember getting like toys of my own, they were Star Wars figures. And some of them were from people he knew. And I got a couple of ones that were like in the package. But Star Wars, from that point forward, I collected Star Wars figures. And
like, what age do you think that was?
It was probably like 6, 7 years old.
So you're talking about like 86, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I mean, we had to pass those crappy Star Wars figures down to someone because we got all the cool GI Joe ones, and we didn't need those.
Yeah, but and then I remember Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. Thundercats was a big one. Not that there were a whole ton of Thundercats figures, but I definitely had like the Lion-O that lit up in the back. Those guys, and Centurions. I remember having Centurions too.
I don't remember Centurions at all.
Yeah, I had a couple of those, and I only remember them because they came apart. You could take them, you could take them apart in a million pieces, and something about that just stuck with me. But
yeah, so like I don't remember Centurions, and I know people talk about them. I actually have some downstairs that I got in a big lot, and I had no idea what they were. I thought they were just some knockoff, and then through the course of this, I saw someone talking about them and showing case. I'm like, dude, I have those. I have a couple of those downstairs, just packed away in some box. And I went down and looked. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what they are. I don't remember them at all. Yet everyone seems to remember them. And we have, let's see here, a couple of people jumped in, and we have Mr. Mad Gus who jumped in here, and then Machine Man asks, were your parents' toys at your grandmother's to play with? I don't think you were saying your parents. I'm wondering if that came out right.
I'm not sure.
You said you lived at your grandmother's for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that was with your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom.
So you guys all lived there.
After I was born, we lived with my grandmother for a few years. Yeah.
And the Canuck has jumped in saying, hey, Punk's starting late, so hey there. Nice to see you here. I don't think I've ever seen you here on my channel, so it's great to have you. And maybe I'm wrong. If I am, Matthew will send me a text message going, dude, this guy's been here all the time. But I know I've seen the Canuck numerous times, so. What is this? Daniel Evans. Hold on, I got to read something like this. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Judge not, lest you be judged. Love your neighbor as yourself. I believe in Satan, and I worship Satan on a daily basis. This might not be the channel for you. Amen, brother. I'm sorry.
All right.
Oh wait, Mr. Vegas says this Daniel dude spreading the word everywhere. I love, this is the wrong channel. Come on, there's got to be a channel you can go to, man.
All right. Well,
Go spread the love there, man. Right? Oh man, we got quite an entrance. Spread the word. Anyway. I don't even know where to go, man. This show is
I got interesting real quick.
Anyway, so you remember getting that stuff, but Star Wars was like the first love that you had.
Yeah, that was my first big like toy collection. I remember having like I had a whole bunch of figures, and then at one point I got like a speeder bike, and then we had a family friend that had an older son, and he ended up giving me his busted ass Ewok village at one point, which I thought was the coolest thing on the planet. And like I said, I had other toys, but Star Wars at that time was the biggest one.
Now, had you seen the movies?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because I've talked to the people from like across the pond that had never seen the movie before, maybe even people your age. But when you played Star Wars, did you have to play it exactly like the movie, or were you one of those heathens that could veer off and do whatever you want? Han Solo could do his own missions.
Oh yeah.
See, I could never do that. So
I was never, I never adhered directly to the movie. Like my Joes got introduced to the Ewok village several times, and yeah, it was definitely a free for all.
So you said you got Star Wars. What G.I. Joe, Motu? How did that come into play with everything? Like, were you?
Well, the cartoons. I was definitely a cartoon kid.
Okay.
Before and after school. So the Thundercats was a big one. I loved the Thundercats, and I liked the Masters of the Universe, the He-Man cartoon. So anything, like Silverhawks, I was into Silverhawks for a while because it had a cool cartoon. Like I was the mark, man. I was exactly what they were looking for to reel me in with the 30-minute commercials.
I do remember. I remember all this. I don't remember anything about the Silverhawks, but I remember watching it. I do remember those toys. Thundercats. I mean, I had a few Thundercats, but definitely love the Thundercat show. Matter of fact, the one that came out in the mid-aughts, I think, my son loved it, and even to this day, he'll kind of complain that they shouldn't have canceled it, and like, no, they shouldn't have, because it was written really well, or at least I felt it was, but it didn't make money, and if it doesn't make money, they don't really care.
Yeah, so they did a He-Man around that time too, didn't they?
I don't remember if it was right around that time.
I thought it was similar timing. I didn't watch either one of those. I remember seeing the properties, but I don't remember. I don't think I ever watched any of them.
Thundercats. I mean, I thought the Thundercats was done really well, and it was left on like a cliffhanger. But it is different than the original. Like they do, it all ends up getting you from point A to point B the exact same way. But there was something a little bit different about it that I really didn't enjoy. And my son enjoyed it, and it was nice to sit there and watch something with him. But then he had the questions about why it was canceled, and up to a few years ago, he even bitched about it. Like, it ain't coming back. I can't help it. So how does G.I. Joe and Motu come into play here? You just start picking them up, or?
Yeah, so I kind of moved away from Star Wars when obviously they became harder and harder to find in the stores. I don't know. if you guys ever had Half Price Store out there.
No,
Eventually turned into Richmond Gordman.
nope, neither.
Yeah, so back when it was Half Price Store, that was kind of like the last. That's where action figures went to die. So you'd go in and you would still find like, I don't know, like a Greedo in package on the shelves at Half Price Store. And you're like, man, this figure came out a million years ago and they still have this for sale. And it'd be marked down 50 times trying to get it off the shelf.
Man, I feel like some of those Star Wars figures lasted a long time.
Yeah. And so as stuff like that became harder and harder to find, or they got broken or lost or whatever, we've moved a bunch of times, and stuff never makes it from one house to the next for whatever reason, or they just got buried in the mud, or left over at people's houses or whatever. So as Star Wars became thinner, Joe's became bigger.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, 82, 83, I was a baby.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until, 85, 86 where I started getting those figures. Like going into toy stores or toy aisles and seeing those figures and thinking, those are cool, I need those. But yeah, Joe's were pretty much right after Star Wars, because it was the biggest cartoon on TV at the time for me, at least the easiest one to watch regularly.
I think so too. I mean, at least here, like Transformers was on Sundays. I mean, I've told the story before. Like I would always try and fake like I was asleep because it was on when we had to go to church. Yeah. So I did everything I could. So I didn't see Transformers for the longest time. But G.I. Joe was on Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And I remember, He-Man was also on.
Yeah.
So, to me, those were like the two biggest for us, right? And not obviously not the biggest, but for us, like what we were watching, because Silverhawks, they didn't seem to really last as long. Same with Thundercats, even though they did have a nice run. But G.I. Joe and He-Man, I think they were there for the longest time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and which equated to them being on the shelf for a long time, or at least in the stores that had toy aisles and stuff like that, where they're not just piled in a clearance section.
And Figure Fight Club has jumped in here. What's up, guys? Punk and Charlock. Yeah. So I feel like Motu, which I didn't ever call it Motu. I didn't know it was called Motu until I got back into it. It was just always He-Man.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the greatest hand-me-down toy of all time. I feel like those things they lasted for so long. They kept getting hand-me-down. Sure, like the arms would be so loose, but you could always pop them back on. Unlike an O-ring, when an O-ring broke, boom, if you didn't know how to replace it, how to fix it, it was just done, right?
Yeah.
And whoever, I forget who I was talking to before, like there was less of a chance of losing the weapon. So you took the sword and the axe or the blaster to grandma and grandpa's, it almost always came back. But if you took a G.I. Joe weapon, there was a good chance you were never seeing it again.
Right. Yeah.
It was getting eaten by grandma's shag carpeting that that they have there.
Yeah. So He-Man and Transformers especially. Transformers were expensive. So I got very few and far between as far as Transformers goes when I was that young. I remember having like the cassettes, the cassettes.
Yes.
You could buy those separately. There were a couple other ones that came in the small packages where they were a couple of bucks or whatever.
Because I believe Ravage was the only one that came. Ravage came with him, or was it Laserbeak?
Laserbeak, yeah.
And then the other ones came. Weren't they in a 2-pack?
Yeah. You could get other ones for Soundwave and
Blaster.
Well,
Blaster didn't come with one. I know because I had Blaster and didn't have a stupid cassette. I always wanted Soundwave, and I got Blaster, and I was like, great. Thanks a lot, guys. I wanted Soundwave not only because it was a cassette, but I loved shoulder cannons. There was something about shoulder cannons.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably from seeing Commando.
Soundwave was my favorite Transformer. I know a lot of people say that, but that was because he was the only Transformer I had for a very long time. Because I got these cassettes and I was like, well, for Christmas I want Soundwave because I have these cassettes and I don't have anything to do with them other than transform them.
Yeah.
So eventually I got Soundwave. But yeah, like I said, Transformers were expensive. So my parents at that time were like, you can have GI Joes. or you can have a He-Man figure, but you're not getting G1 Jetfire. You go over to your buddy's house and play with Jetfire.
So I don't remember them being that expensive, but I also wasn't buying them. I mean, I had Optimus Prime and I had Megatron, and I had some of the smaller ones. I didn't have too many bigger ones. I know I didn't have like Hound and and all those ones. I remember getting some of the Seekers, but I don't remember ever buying them. I think I traded for them, but I don't remember getting. And I figure, I know I had one. I think it was Thundercracker, but I don't remember like getting it. So maybe that's the reason why. But I know I had like a bunch of Transformers. Like in the end, you end up running, getting them. I always wanted Jetfire because he looked like. What is it?
Is it Macross?
Yeah, but that's not what we called it here.
Robotech?
Robotech. I always wanted that because it looked like it.
Yeah.
Come to find out that's not even what it's supposed to look like. And
I was never going to get Jetfire.
I didn't either.
I actually, so I had a buddy. I call him a buddy now. We were both young kids, obviously. And his parents bought him anything he wanted. It didn't matter the cost. He got everything he wanted anytime he wanted it. And he had a Jetfire. And one time I went over to his house, and he was a little younger than me, and he was playing with his Jetfire in a sandbox. And I remember just the absolute disdain for this kid that he was playing with a Transformer that I couldn't have in a sandbox. And I took it. He left it there. I took it. I'm not proud.
You sound proud.
I'm not proud.
You sound proud. Maybe you should change the name to Jetfire Prime.
Yeah, Jetfire came home with me that day.
Well, he deserved it. Just think of it. He deserved what he got. So, if you don't mind me asking, you mentioned something about having other siblings that you've never met.
Right.
It sounds like your biological father. You never met him, or
no, don't know him at all.
So, do you mind me asking about? Obviously, you said your brother, the guy that raised you was his father, correct?
Yeah, right.
So how did that come in? Like how was that? Because I know that can be very difficult. Now I raised, my daughter since she was 5.
Yeah.
My oldest is since she was 5, she never met her dad. So how did that transition work? Was it, do you ever feel any different?
No, because my mom met him when I was probably like 3 or 4. So I was still pretty young. I didn't really have a sense of what it meant or anything like that. And they got married a year or 2 after that, or around the time that my brother was born. But he was a cool guy. He just came in and he was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take this on, and he did. My mom was a waitress at a bowling alley, and he was a bassist. He was a bass guitar player, and they played shows at that bowling alley. That's how they met, and so I was up at that bowling alley all the time, and I would see this guy and I'd talk to him, and he would talk to me. We would bowl together. This was even before they started seeing each other and all that. So I knew this guy. I knew him, and I was comfortable around him. He was friendly and treated me well, and and he liked all the shit I liked. He liked Star Wars. He liked GI Joes. He liked, he was into that stuff. And so like I said, I was still pretty young, so I don't remember a whole lot of the time leading up to him just being my dad. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a change, but it wasn't significant enough back then for me to really for it to register as, well, this is some new guy. It was just a guy that I liked being around, and he liked being around me apparently. So why not go live with him?
But but now as an adult, you can look back at it and see it completely different. Where it's like, he never once thought twice about it. And clearly, if your brother is 6 years younger, you obviously would have grown some attachment to him even before that. Because I know, like with my daughter, she didn't start calling me dad until after Andrew came along.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and she's 9 years older. So for 4 years, she never called me dad. And I never pressed that either, because we weren't even married, but you raise someone from, the time that they're, 5 years old, first day of kindergarten, I was there, to the last day, of high school. So I was just wondering how that was, because I know, Ed, the moderator, his dad isn't his real dad. And, he talks about how his dad had no problem. He goes, he didn't treat me any differently. He didn't treat me any differently.
There was never a point where I felt like I was treated differently. But like you said, I was around him, and we were father and son for quite a while before my younger brother was born. So that attachment did have time to kind of mature, and we had a strong relationship by the time that my brother was born. So.
And that's great. And nothing, you don't look back, and nothing ever seemed to change even after your brother came along.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is difficult, man. It is difficult. And that's great that you had somebody that, that stepped up. It does sound like if you ever need a kidney, you do have some people you can reach out to.
Yeah.
I guess there's that, right? Like,
I don't know what the response would be, but
I don't know you, and you're the sixth one that I'm reaching out to, but
right.
I am related to you. Can I borrow your kidney? I need one.
Well, the craziest thing is that, I had three siblings before, or he had three children. My biological father had three children before I was born. All much older than me. Well, the youngest one I think was 4 years older than me, so not a ton, but by the time I was old enough to recognize that who was around me, they weren't around anymore, because he was gone. He was gone early, and he dropped them off with their moms and took off somewhere else. So, and now he's got a mess of kids that are way younger than me.
Tony says, sounds like my dad. I can confirm that from what Tony's told me too. So.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat.
So, do you mind me? Did you ever want to seek out your biological father, or
there have been brief periods of time where I've thought about it. It kind of comes and goes. Like, I've got kids of my own now, and as far as they know, like my mom's current husband, my stepfather, and my dad, my brother's dad, those two were their grandfathers. My dad, he passed in 2019, and they're all aware of that. My youngest has no idea even who he is, because he didn't really get to meet him.
okay.
But I think about that too. Like, where does that fit into their lives? Introducing this guy, like, hey, here's this guy. Like, my oldest is 14 now, so I don't know if he would even, he probably wouldn't even give a shit. But
I've talked about this before. Like, my kids have never met. Technically, they've never met either one of their grandmothers, because my mom passed away when I was 13.
Right.
So, the only grandmother they've ever known is my stepmom. My ex's mom, I've never met her, and we were together for 15 years, and she was when you hear stories, you think, okay, maybe this woman is full of shit, because she told me stuff about her brother being a professional baseball player, and that her other brother delivers pizza in Detroit. And he carries a gun when he delivers, and you're like, oh sure. And then you actually meet him, and you're like, oh wow, you weren't lying about any of this. So like, I mean, I've never even. I mean, she always referred to her mom as Nancy. I mean, she'd say my mom or whatever. And when her mom died, just I think last year, maybe the year before, she sent me a text and said, "Mother Dearest died last night." I was like, hey, I know you don't like her, but are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. I just want pictures. I just hope that she didn't get rid of our pictures. And she had separated. I guess she actually separated all the pictures she had of all 4 kids of hers, or maybe 5 because they had a half sister. So I mean, it's weird. Like I can't imagine that. Having my own kids. I think you feel the same way. Like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Can't
I
imagine.
mean, and there was never an effort to reach out to me either. I mean, that sounds vindictive, but at the same time, like it's been 44 years. So like at this point, it's what's the point really?
But you know what? And I was talking to somebody about this. It is not the kid's responsibility to ever reach out to the parent. It's the other way around. Like the kids are not supposed to be there for the parents until they're old,
Right.
like
Yeah.
they have no one else. The parents supposed to be there for the kids. It's not supposed to be the other way around. And I think we see a lot of people that are like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And again, I do think that it is. I believe that perception is starting to change with like every dad's a deadbeat. If they're not married anymore.
Right.
I don't know about in the court's eyes yet, but
Yeah.
but it was something I just wanted. When you brought that up, I just wanted to ask about that because I'm always intrigued by that because I've dated women since my ex and I split up, and I've had girls say they said you're not really her dad. I'm like, whoa, you just ended anything ever because that's the biggest crock of shit ever. You don't raise someone for 15 years of their life and then be like, yeah, you know what, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not with your mom anymore. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. I mean, maybe you can, but I know I sure couldn't. So, especially when you have kids together with, they have, she has brothers and sisters that rumor is I help make. I don't know if that's true or not. So as you started to get a little bit older, you go into middle school, did you continue to play with toys or did you start to be like most of us where we...
So I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I collected. So Transformers became kind of important to me. So I would pick up a Transformer here and there because that line just seemed there was always some iteration of Transformer on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I'd see one where I was like, that's pretty cool. So I'd grab that. The Marvel Toy Biz, like the early Marvel Toy Biz line, the X-Men line, I collected those for a long time. It obviously wasn't to the scale of where I'm at now, but if I saw something I thought was cool, I'd pick it up. I had most of the X-Men figures from Toy Biz back then.
No, this is middle school. Like you're still...
Yeah, well, I mean, like 7th, 8th grade.
Okay. Now, did you play with toys, or were you like most of us, where it was a hidden secret? And of course, now that we look back, we realize every 6, 7, and 8-year-old was still playing with their toys. We just didn't let anyone know. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was. Well, girls started to become more important too. So I was like, well, if I have a bunch of toys laying around my room and I have a girl over, that might be a little weird. So I did take a lot of them and put them in my brother's room.
Well, you had a built-in excuse right there.
Right.
Oh, my brother wants to play with me, and so I just, especially 6 years younger. That is like you had to experience like playing with certain toys all because of your brother, if you wanted to. I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah.
But, 6 years younger, like, hey, you're in 8th grade, like he's prime playing, and you're like, I have to go play these with my brother. I'll call you back later.
Well, yeah, he was big into like Ninja Turtles and the Ghostbuster line, the Kenner Ghostbuster line.
Okay.
Those were big. Those were high on his list. So when he started getting those, I was like, let me take a look at those. Let me see.
I love it. So as you get into high school, how does that go? Do you just kind of put the toys away? Do you
Yeah,
shift to, like, comic books?
yeah. Well, I was still into comics. Not as much, I still have a Foot Locker of comics, not nearly as many as I did back then, but I kept a lot of comics. And same deal, put them in a box, shove them under my bed, put them in a closet or something. But I still read comics in like the end of 8th grade. But yeah, I started wrestling in 8th grade and
Okay.
and skateboarding too. I skateboarded up until the end of high school, basically. But yeah, so that stuff became priority, I guess. Which, looking back on wrestling, I could have never done that and been just fine.
It's funny how you look back at some of the stuff you did and you're like, yeah, I really didn't need that. But it's all an experience, right? It's all part
Yeah.
of the experience of what you're trying to learn and figure out who you are, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it all builds towards something, right? Or it all comes back to toys at some point.
Yeah. Curtis, nice to see you here. Yeah, because it's always something, you're in high school. I mean, I guess, most people are still trying to find themselves. I've
Right.
told it before. For me, I found skating when I was probably 11, 12. And when my mom died in 8th grade, like, that's all I cared about. I think it was an escape, but luckily for me, it was an escape of something I absolutely loved. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't change anything. I mean, I would not change anything if I thought it would change who I am today. Because all the bumps, bruises, and hitting concrete, it's all worth it.
Right.
At
Yeah.
least I think it is. I might have hit my head one too many times, but so you're in high school. You wrestled for how long? You wrestled for
2 years.
2 years,
Yeah.
and then you're like, man, I'm rolling around with a lot of guys here.
Well, I hurt myself. I hurt myself in 8th grade. Hurt my knee really bad, and it was a big deal because I was a little guy. I was a 100-pound wrestler in 8th grade, and they didn't have another 100-pound wrestler. So there was a lot of pressure to get better and get back to it. And I tried. I went back to it and tried to keep going. But after I hurt myself, like every time I would get hurt or something would happen where it didn't go my way, I'd get pissed off and I'd be like, what's the point of this shit? Like, why am I even doing this? It's not worth it. And so as that went on and on, I get hurt and I would lose my temper, lose my cool. And eventually I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. And I quit.
No, I understand that. Curtis Ackerman says this show has a lot of skateboard talk. I honestly didn't know one kid that skateboarded growing up. Now, I don't know how old you are, Curtis. I graduated in '94, and it was during the deadest time of skateboarding. And we had 2,700 kids in my school. I was the only skateboarder that year. It was the following years when the X Games started
Yeah.
that maybe it blew up.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal when I was in high school, at least with the crowd that I hung out with.
Yeah, so 47. So yeah, you would have been like right in that dead era, and depending on where you're at in the Midwest, I mean, I'm in Michigan. It was dead. I mean, if you're in California, Florida, something like that, there's going to be skateboarders just because it's almost impossible not to. But yeah, the Midwest, there wasn't a skate park in every single city like there is now. Kids don't even realize how good they have it. They don't even realize how damn good they have it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we got in a lot of trouble for skateboarding, just on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
My high school was across the street from a strip mall, and it had like a convenience store and like a daycare and a car wash. And we'd skate up and down that sidewalk and in the parking lot there. And man, we'd get yelled at all the time by somebody. Get the fuck out of here, man. They put up signs, no skateboarding, like everywhere. You couldn't even skateboard on the school grounds. They had signs up saying no skateboarding.
Which was always funny because like they kick you out from a bank and they like go to school. Well, no, it says no skateboarding. I tell my kids those signs are just suggestions. I don't really mean it. And Todd C says he was skating to 90s ska. I've actually come to kind of like some ska, but I hated ska. I hated ska.
Yeah,
I mean, when I say I was a punk, like dude, like fast.
I was
Most California punk or New York hardcore style music.
that was me. Grungy guy, grungy skateboarder.
No grunge. No, I hate grunge. It's only Nirvana and Pearl. Oh, good lord, that stuff was awful.
I owned a lot of flannel.
We all owned a lot of flannel.
Well,
okay,
I still do, but it's for different reasons now.
Yeah, when you realize flannel has an actual purpose, it's to keep you warm.
Yeah, exactly.
It was kind of like when I realized, oh my god, handrails actually have a use, and that's for my bad knees. They're not actually made to skateboard down. So as you're in high school, you said you kind of found music?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, with my dad being a bassist, I was listening to music real early on.
Okay.
He was in a cover band. A rock cover band, so a lot of classic rock, 70s, 80s stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where, and he didn't just play the bass; he could play anything you sat in front of him. He was just a natural musician.
Isn't it crazy how I'm not gonna say most musicians, but a lot of musicians that like play the bass or the guitar or the drums. And you're like, oh yeah, they're a drummer. And then you're sitting with them and they grab a guitar and you're like,
yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I can play almost any instrument. And you're like, oh great, that's real nice. I don't even have the ability to kind of play one. And you just like pick it up and you're like, yeah, actually I'm better at the bass than drums, but they needed a drummer.
Yeah,
like, you see that all the time.
My younger brother is that way. He can play whatever you hand him. He's an amazing bassist too, but he can play anything you put in front of him.
Tony says, I skateboard to the mailbox and back. True story. He told me that a long time ago too.
I'd be afraid to get on a skateboard now. I'd probably hurt myself pretty bad.
It's all second nature. It's all. I think it's like people that ice skate. You know, you jump on the skates and you're back to doing it. You're sore the next day.
Yeah.
Because you use muscles you didn't realize that you had to.
Right.
Anytime I get back into skating when it's been a while, it's always like right underneath the ribs. And you're like, I didn't even know there's muscles there. Like, why does it hurt? Like right on the top of the muscle. Matthew's going to come in and go like, well, because these are the muscles. Rhetorical question. So you obviously didn't play any instruments. Sounds like you probably tried because you probably had them sitting there.
Yeah, well, I played the trumpet in elementary school, and that was all I did, and I hated that. I hated that so much. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'd much rather listen to music than play an instrument. I found.
Do you know what else is? And you'll probably know it if your dad was a musician. Did he break down music, especially like when a certain like a singer or a guitarist would be in a second band, and you're like, it sounds the same to me, and he'd be like, oh no, this is what sounds different. I have buddies that obviously in the punk scene or whatever, and I made a comment one day about how Good Riddance, his other band, Only Crime, sounds the same. He's like, no. He goes, no, the guitarist is played like this. I'm like, dude, it sounds the fucking same.
Yeah,
it sounds the same.
He absolutely did, and he turned me into a music snob because of it.
So you can hear the difference.
I do the exact same thing now, and it drives people crazy.
I mean, look at the stuff we do now. You know, I talked to Tony, and he looks at a figure, and he's like, no, those boots need to be changed. And I mean, I can look at the same things. If I really sat down with somebody and watched a skateboarding video, someone would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'd be like, that's kind of sketchy. Like, you see things in such a different light. But that's crazy that you can't play instruments, but you know when you can break. It's like a coach, right?
Yeah.
Most coaches sucked at the sport they played.
Right.
Or they were average
Well,
at best.
it's funny because both my dad and my brother have said the same thing. Like, you can't play an instrument, but you have an ear for music.
Yeah.
And that's my dad and my brother was and is the only person that it doesn't drive crazy, because I'll listen to something. Well, unless I disagree with him on my brother on something, then it drives me crazy. If he likes something and sends it to me and I'm like, no, that's shit, and here's why, he's like, no, get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, being like in the punk scene, and this guy here he'll tell you he's
Derek, what's up?
He I don't know if you talked to him. He's a musician for New York, hardcore. But a lot of those punk bands, like people, like, oh, those guys can't even play instruments, and I go, a lot of them can play really good. They just choose to play a sound of music, a style of music that isn't very difficult. It doesn't mean they're not good musicians. You look at bands like Rancid and NoFX, it's like, those are amazing musicians.
Yeah.
They just, they're not, they chose not to play a real hard style.
Yeah. There's a lot of bands out there like that I don't care for the band, but I can tell that these guys can play the shit out of their instruments. They choose to play them a specific way, like you said, to make the sound they want to make for that band. Primus is one of them. I fucking hate Primus, but but they're good musicians.
My friends love them, and I'm like, I don't know if Jerry was a race car driver or not, but I don't care.
I don't give a shit.
But he has a six-string bass.
Yeah.
And your point is?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I wish you would
I
play
can
it.
honestly say, as a punk fan, I was never like, you know what this song needs? More bass.
Yeah.
I did say Jerry. I didn't say Jeremy. I know Jerry was a race car driver. Believe me, I know, because my friends listen to this shit all the time.
I just saw Derek Holliman's comment about the trumpet, and I just wanted to tell him that's the exact reason I played trumpet. Is my mom was like, you need to find something to do.
So my daughter in 5th grade decided to play the trombone, and we're like, that's like the biggest one that you can get, like, for her size. I don't care. We'll come to find out that her and her friend just wanted to play it. Neither one of them could play. So, like, I remember going there, and I'm just laughing at her, and she's like, look at my dad, or something like that, to her friend who's next to her, and I was like making her crack up, and you could tell, like, they're playing, and she's like moving it, and you can tell they're not doing anything. Like, dad.
I definitely skirted by on the trumpet a few times myself.
But yeah, I find that fascinating, and again, I like hearing that there's other things besides toys that we're involved in, right? Like,
yeah, music was and it still is a big thing for me. I still listen to a lot of music.
Yeah, and I think, for me, I mean, I don't know, like, I listen to punk and hardcore, and I like 80s music, and I like 60s and, like, the Motown sound. But I tell everyone, I go, for me, music means something. So, like, if I listen to the lyrics, most of the songs, like, if I listen to the lyrics and I can't find some sort of connection to them, I don't like the band. I don't like the music. Now, there's some punk stuff that has no point. Gutter Mouth, very
right.
Politically incorrect band. But a lot of most of the punk stuff is all, like, societal.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a lot of it's politically charged, but a lot of societal. friendship based, and like to me, like that's who I am. But then I listen to like like people talk about stuff on the radio, and you listen to it, and you're like, what the fuck is this song about, man? Like, how is this even on the radio? Like, did
Yeah.
you listen to the lyrics? Like, this is
Yeah, I
awful.
agree. I agree. Like I said, I'm a music snob, and I got a lot of opinions that piss a lot of people off. But,
And I love that. I love that because I'm the same way. And I've said it before. I like saying something sucks to somebody that they like, because I want them to come back at me and be like, I don't care.
right.
Like when I would say that to people, like soccer sucks, and they'd be like, what if I said skateboarding sucks? I go, then you said it. It doesn't
Yeah.
change the way I feel about it.
Right. Yeah,
If I
exactly.
say,
It
I
doesn't
want
matter.
you to kick back and show that you have a backbone and be like, I don't give a fuck. I had so much fun playing it. And be like, awesome. I don't know how, because it's boring as shit. I'd rather watch the grass grow.
Yeah, my kids are going through that right now. Like my daughter is 7 or 8, and she's listening to all the things that a 8-year-old girl listens to, and my 14-year-old listens to rock, and he's like, I hate this music. He tells her all the time, shut that off. I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, dude, she's allowed to listen to her music just like you're allowed to listen to your music. If you hate it, go somewhere else. Don't listen to it. Find somewhere else to be.
Put in some headsets. Yeah.
And then she gets her feelings hurt when he tells her music sucks. I'm like, honey, it doesn't matter if he thinks it sucks. If you like it,
Yeah.
let him think it sucks. It doesn't matter.
That is the hardest thing. I think that is like the hardest thing to teach your kids. Like it
Right.
doesn't matter. And it again, if we and I guess I was different, and I think a lot of it had to do with losing my mom. And people have said I changed at that, like when my mom died, and maybe I did. I don't remember, but I don't ever remember caring what people thought.
Right.
But I'm also not stupid and naive enough to think that kids aren't like that. So it's really hard. I mean, it's easy to tell your kids don't care what other people say,
Right.
but at the same time, we have to look at it as a parent. And you're like, God, I mean, school is kids are ruthless, right? Like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
they are so ruthless. I probably know because I might have been one of them. But you just want to tell your kid, like, right? You're telling you it doesn't matter, and then you probably see it on her face where it means something to her, and you're like,
Oh yeah. Well, it's her brother. She doesn't want to hear that from him. But at the same time, if he wants to act like a douche, then ignore him.
And how old is she?
8.
She's 8 and he's 14, so that's a big gap.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have 2 other kids, but she's the only girl.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of difference in opinion there, just with that. So
Yeah, well, you're gonna get that, and
yeah.
I know my sister's 6 years younger than me, and I mean we're completely different on so many levels. So, all right, I don't know how we got there, but so after you graduate high school, you graduated, right?
Yep.
I made that mistake. I want to make sure you graduate. I should have asked you before. Did you go on to school? Or did you go right into the workforce?
I started working right away.
Okay.
I eventually went back to school, but I got a full-time job right out of high school.
So no real college for you. What'd you want to do? Just
So I worked while I was in high school, but it was part-time. Obviously, I was a bus boy, and then I was a waiter at a restaurant that was down in Omaha, and I did that for a few years, and I quit that before I graduated. But right when I graduated, I went out and I wanted to move out of my parents' place, my mom and my stepdad's place. So I had to find a job, like a full-time job, and I ended up working at Kinko's. So do you remember Kinko's? Because I bring it up to a lot of people, and they don't even remember it. It became like FedEx Office later on. I didn't work there when it did that, but
yeah, FedEx bought it out.
yeah. but yeah, so I started working at Kinko's, and I worked overnights, and I did that for several years, or I did that for 3 years, um, and then I decided I was going to go back to school.
So did you just go to community college, or did you go to?
I went to a trade school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you go to school for?
Computer network engineering.
Okay. And how's your microphone doing? How did you not just say? How did you not just restart your computer? Because we know that's the first thing they say.
Right. Yeah.
Have you restarted your computer?
Yeah. Well, and I don't I tell people this all the time because I'll screw something up or do something wrong, and they'll be like, I thought you worked on computers. I'm like, I do, but I don't do AV shit. I don't mess with printers. I don't do that. I have
you don't do hardware stuff.
Right. Yeah. So not anymore anyways, but even I don't do like peripheral stuff. I work on servers, like application servers and stuff like that.
You work in the virtual world.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I get that a lot. Or, I'm the family IT guy. So anytime my mom has a problem, she calls me and, can you fix this? And she uses an Apple for her job. So I'm like, no, I can't fix that.
I wish people could understand that. I'm like, I fix copy machines. Now we have to set up scanning. We got to set up the print drivers at times. In theory, their IT is supposed to handle it, but they don't want to pay that. So they're like, we have a contract from you. It's like, yeah, but it's not our issue. The copier works. And the moment I see an Apple, I'm like, ugh. I really don't do that. There's another guy that we work with that does it. I kind of let him deal with it. But I also find it funny because when there's an issue with the copy machine or there's an issue printing or whatever, and I'll be like, there's nothing wrong with the copier. It's something, it's something with, it's something on your IT side, something with your network.
Right.
How can that be? I said, well, because we haven't changed anything. Okay, so what you're telling me is that it has to be the copier, which worked fine yesterday also. But your virtual world that we know Windows changes shit all the time, it couldn't be that.
Right.
Okay.
I was just talking to my brother about this the other day too. So I didn't make the connection, but you bringing up working on copiers just reminded me of this. But I got out of school, graduated, and started working at Kinko's, working on copiers. My dad, he worked for Xerox for 20 years, and they laid him off, and he went and worked for Kodak, and that's what he did, was work on copiers. And I didn't make any connection. My brother, when I was talking to my brother, he's like, "Isn't it crazy that you graduated and started working on copiers just like Dad did?" And I'm like, "I guess that is kind of crazy. I never even thought, it never even crossed my mind." But
were you actually working on the were you working on the copiers just in that one Kinko's, or did you
Well, I worked for a Kinko's location.
Okay.
But I was trained to fix copiers.
Okay.
So I would go to different locations and when they needed something fixed. But most of them were under contract, like you said. So we would have somebody come in depending on what the brand was or if they were still covered.
Curtis says, I honestly thought Kinko's was still around until a couple months ago. Shows you how often people went to Kinko. No, it's true because I'm very well aware when I come off kind of rude to people. And after someone says the Xerox machine enough, or I did a Xerox, I'll go, you mean you made a copy? Yeah, I made a Xerox of it. You mean you made a copy? Because a Xerox is a brand. And right. You didn't Xerox anything. You copied something. It is way different because I don't work on Xerox machines. If you put one in front of me and said, hey, this is what it's doing, I could probably tell you what it's doing. I probably couldn't fix it because it's like a Ford mechanic working on a GM. I can probably tell you, yeah, that's a lifter knock, but I can't fucking fix it for you.
Right.
I mean, I could learn how to because theoretically they work the same. Radnam comes in. Larry is like Al Bundy of the copier world. Someday I'll tell you some copier stories, and I'll be like, Why are you telling me this? Like, just because I had to hear them, so do you. So you go right into the workforce. How long did you work? How long did you work there, and how long was it before you decided to go back to like a trade school?
It was about. I think it was about 3 years. I was 21 when I went back to school.
Okay. So you went to work on actual servers and stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just go for
So,
Windows.
yeah, it was a networking degree, but I mean I took classes in everything. I took a class in writing operating systems, which I couldn't remember word one from that textbook if you put a gun to my head. But
Derek says Kinko's doubled my 401k when FedEx bought them. See,
nice.
that's awesome.
I should have stuck around.
Machine Man, I probably shouldn't say this, but I have never, and knock on wood really quiet because if I knock too loud, someone will jump up and start barking and run downstairs. I've never had glass broken. That glass is really, really fucking tough, man. I'm not like that glass is really tough. You have to do a lot to break it. But if someone's sitting their fat ass up on it, I could definitely see that thing. I could see that thing going through. And if it did, there'd be more damage than just glass, especially if the lamps are in the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that could be rough. Quickly here.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Curtis Ackerman with the $4.99 super chat. Maybe you wouldn't come across as rude if you would stop telling people that their favorite things suck. There's a possibility. But then I would be conforming to everyone. You would be absolutely blown away at how professional I am. But the few complaints that I've gotten in 23 years, and there was a few, is like when my boss has said, "Hey, you know what? We got a complaint," and I'd be like, "Well, from who?" And I'm not going to say. I'm like, "No, I'll let you know if I thought I was coming off rude." Because you can only go out to a client. Now, it's changed because copy machines have changed so much, but you can only go out to a place so many times and tell people the exact same thing, especially when it's not your issue. It's something they did, before you're just like, you walk in a pissy mood, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I deal with that every single day.
And there goes your sound again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I didn't touch
Yeah.
anything.
It went right back. Man, your speaker sucks. Or your microphone.
Yeah, I guess I need a different
Uh,
one.
Derek says, I have crazy stories for my Kinkos. Next time we see each other, we can trade war stories.
Yeah. Is it so bad? Can you not
No,
hear me at all?
no, like it's all rough again.
Oh gosh.
It's all
Yeah. I don't know.
and like when you start talking, there's nothing, and then I can hear you, but it comes in all staticky.
Yeah. It's gotta be a wire.
I've learned to bullshit my way around, but between you and me and everyone else that's watching, the customer is always right as bullshit. I think most of us. Rednam, that's what we told him at the beginning. But he's an IT guy, so he's going to try and do everything virtually first to try and fix it before he checks that cable, which is probably loose. It's probably fucking dangling right there. Clint Jorgensen says, "Get out your T-Pain auto-tune mic." Oh, and now you're getting blurry. You may have to restart that computer again, man.
How's the sound?
No, you sound awful.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, like the moment, now it's all blurry. So now your camera went bad too.
What the fuck?
Guys, have we had more technical problems in one of these? Because I don't know if I've even had to ever restart mine. All right, now talk.
Is it better?
Nope, it's doing the same. Like the moment you start talking, yeah. What operating system are you using, or what browser are you using?
Edge.
So am I, so I can't complain about that. Yeah,
It's probably this microphone.
yeah, it definitely sounds like the microphone is cutting out. No, he already said he doesn't use Apple products. Were you not listening, Ed? God damn it! What kind of moderator are you? You know what? So in all honesty, Edge to me actually works the best for Firefox, or not Firefox. Works the best on StreamYard that I've had yet. Firefox is really slow, and I don't use Chrome. So
let me drop off and come back because that's all I did last time, really.
yeah, let's try it all over again. I heard him. No, that's your co-host that uses all Mac products, who thinks we're all
All right,
rich.
I'll be right
All right. Anyway, Tripwire says I use Brave for you. I've never heard of Brave. Tony's Fig says I'm just happy Charlock doesn't make customs like his live streams. You know what? I guess it's the perfect time to hear from Mossman. So let's do let's do the first Mossman commercial.
Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Mossman, what are you doing back here? Oh, you see, so Skeletor, he had to go to the grocery store. He had to go buy more barbecue Pringle chips. And so he's put me in charge here for a little bit. In charge of y'all. He said, man, Mossman, I have to go to the grocery store, so I need to put you in charge of Snake Mountain. Yes, that's Skeletor. That's Skeletor, right. Skeletor said since I was in charge, I could use the credit card and maybe go online and buy some action figures for myself.
Oh, some action figures sound kind of nice.
Yes. Maybe we can go to Big Bad. Yeah, Beastman, we don't say that around here. We go to helldopetoys.com. They have the best prices in town, and they ship everything in one business day. One business day, Beastman. That means I buy it, and it comes to my house super fast, and they pack it all real nice. So when I go to do my YouTube reviews for my 5 subscribers, I'll be like, oh, look at this minty fresh packaged box that I got from helldopetoys.com. So what are we waiting for, y'all? Let's go get that credit card and head on over to hellodopetoys.com right now before they run out of all the good stuff.
All right. So I see that Charlock is back. So we're going to try once again and see if he has fixed his sound. Hey, welcome to the show, Charlock.
Is it any better?
Yeah, now it sounds fine. You might want to ask your buddy what he was doing to that microphone.
I'm going to switch to Apple.
Curtis says, you know what? I don't think Skeletor actually left him in charge. I don't know, man. I love the Mossman commercials. I love the fact that Tony also hates Mossman. I don't know how do you hate Mossman? I don't know how you hate Mossman, but it's okay because I've caught Tony. He does the Mossman voice too, like everyone else. So
I just saw his comment about live streaming like I make customs.
Yeah. you would not have been winning first place or anything. That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
All right, so you go back to school. I'm assuming you graduated. Now, how long ago did you meet your wife?
So that's an interesting story. So my best friend that I met in 7th grade, my wife is his
Is this
little
the guy you
sister.
stole the Jetfire from?
No, that was much earlier.
I also stole his girlfriend who became my wife, so
So my best friend, my wife is my best friend's younger sister. I was the first time I met her. Obviously, she's younger than me. The first time I met her, she was like 11, something like that. Not interested at the time, so don't hold that against me.
How much younger is she than you?
She's 4 years younger.
That's not. I mean, that's not like it's huge. Like, you made it sound like she's like 20 years younger than you or something.
No, I just because I met her when she was 11.
And that I do understand.
Yeah. And so, years pass. I was in my best friend's wedding as a groomsman, and she was a bridesmaid, and she hadn't lived in Nebraska for several years. And when she came back, I was like, oh, hi. So,
You mean like she didn't leave? Like I don't want to move back here.
she moved away from Nebraska. I don't know when she moved away, but I didn't see her that often because I hung out with her brother, not her. But yeah, I didn't see her for many, many years until she came back, and she was, let me think. So she was in her 20s when I saw her again, and I was beside myself because she'd all grown up. So
she's all grown up.
And after that, like she was still living in Texas at the time, so she left after I saw her at the wedding, and it was a couple more years before she moved back to Nebraska, and
Machine Man says, "Hey, you here to hang out?" No, I'm here to see your sister.
Yep. So that became a thing at one point too, because she moved back, and we started seeing each other, and she was living at my buddy's house, at her brother's house, and there was definitely a time or two where I went over there and was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Going good. What's going on? What do you want to do?" I'm like, actually.
You really don't want me to tell you what I'm going to do.
But yeah, so that was let me think. That was we've been together for over 16 years, 17 years, something like that.
Okay.
My oldest boy is 14. But we dated before we got married and all that stuff. But yeah, that was well after I graduated. I graduated college in 2003 or 2004. Yeah. And then I worked all over the place. I worked a bunch of jobs after Kinko's before I got like a career focused job, which is what I'm still doing now. I've been with the company that I'm with now for 20 years.
Okay. So are you collecting toys like during like going to college and stuff? Are you collecting toys or
on and off? I was real big into Warhammer 40K. So I did that for a long time, which was kind of like a something to help me get by on not having a whole bunch of toys. I had all these little miniatures that I was painting and playing games with. But yeah, I would still pick up, like I said, if I saw something cool that I liked, I even picked up like when we moved the last time, I got a note some of my storage boxes, and I found like Hot Wheels that were still in the package that I just thought they look cool. And Todd. Actually, it was Dark Eldar, and then it was Tau.
I so need to get that nerd sound from Homer Simpson. Nerd. I know. As I collect toys, but
No, yeah, it's funny. It's funny because like I collected comics. I knew all my friends collected comics, played video games, and then when I told them I was going to go play, yeah, I was going to go play Warhammer, they're like, "God, you're a fucking nerd." I'm like, seriously. But yeah, that was, and so yeah, I would find a Hot Wheels car that I liked or thought was cool. I'd grab that. Just stuff, here and there. Space was, I'm living in an apartment with a closet for a bedroom. Basically, space was hard to come by, so it wasn't like I was going out and picking up a bunch of a wave of action figures because I didn't have anywhere to put anything. But yeah, I still grab stuff here and there. Spawn was big. I got a lot of Spawn figures.
They look so good. They look so good, and I didn't even I mean, I've kind of found out what Spawn was, but it was such a good looking figure. And I know when I was buying them, I didn't think anything about articulation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, those first Spawn figures, they looked great, and you realize that you can put them in two positions, and only one of them looked right.
I still have the original Spawn right over there.
I got a Redeemer over here on the shelf somewhere.
Oh, somewhere. I just lost. Yeah, I have my original Spawn over there, and then I have the hamburger head one, still in that plastic case, which has started to break, downstairs. I don't know why I haven't just opened it. Considering
I've got a couple like
worth
that.
any money.
I've got a couple of his first edition, the first run of his movie Maniacs. I think I've got like the Crow and Pumpkinhead, and they're still in the box. Well, I mean, what's left of the box. But I just never opened them. I got them because they look cool, and I liked those movies. So I bought them when I saw them and just stuck them in. Like I said, I probably bought them. I was probably in an apartment and didn't have anywhere to put them, so I bought them and stuck them in a shoebox or a Foot Locker.
And now they're still sitting there.
Yeah.
So you're still picking up stuff. Now, as you meet your soon-to-be wife, has it grown, or are you still doing the same thing, just slowly picking things up here and there?
So when she and I started dating, I had bought my first house, and I had rooms. I had a roommate that was living with me, but I had it was a
And what, he didn't have any hot sisters that you wanted to date?
No. But it was a 3-bedroom house, and I lived in the basement. So I had a room where I kept my computer and my toys, and then I had a room where I had reptiles, lizards, and stuff because I still have lizards, but that was a big thing for me. I really like reptiles, really like lizards. Not so much like snakes and stuff, but like geckos and stuff. I was really into that, and it became one of those things where somebody would buy something and not know how to take care of it, so they would call me and be like, "Hey, do you want this thing? Because I don't know what to do with it." And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Bring it over."
So you had a reptile room.
Yeah.
A toy/computer room or office, and then you slept in the basement.
Yep, and then my roommate was in like the only upstairs bedroom that didn't have shit in it.
All right, so you're collecting some stuff. How does she like kind of take that when, like, how did you introduce her into that? Oh, by the way, I also buy toys.
Yeah, so the lizards were the bigger thing. I think that was, if you got a girl over and you're like, you want to see my lizard, there.
There's only two ways that's going. It's either really good or
you're
probably getting slapped and she's running out of the house.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then
I actually have a room for the lizards.
Yeah, and then you open the room or open the door of this room, and there's 20 something reptiles in cages in this room, and so I think that was kind of an icebreaker. So Yeah, I got a whole bunch of lizards, and I also have some toys.
Yeah, I can just hear her being like, why couldn't you just be one of those people that collect toys? Oh yeah, have you seen this room?
Yeah, well, and you know, when we first got together, like when she moved in with me, my roommate moved out, and she moved in. She moved in shortly after that. She, you know, it was like, why do you bother? Why do you collect toys? And I told her, you know, there's something about them. You know, there's some nostalgia. Nostalgia is a big thing, but there's also like a big part for me was, well, they have these toys now, newer versions of toys I couldn't afford or never had as a kid that I really wanted. So I went and picked these up. I like them, and she's, you know, whatever. It's what I do. It was a quirky thing, you know. As time went on, and I started like actually collecting, she would waffle back and forth on her opinion of what I was collecting or how much money I was spending on these things. But you know, now like it's just, it is what it is. Like she's cool with it now. Like
So there was a little issue that
yeah, I mean, yeah, it wasn't like you either collect toys or I'm or you don't collect toys or I'm leaving or something like that.
It wasn't an
But,
ultimatum.
you know, it was always a question of like, why? What's the point? Why do you need these things, or why do you think you need these things? And eventually, I think she came to understand that I don't need them. It's just it's my luxury. You know, it's my hobby. That's what I do. And I had stopped playing games as much as I did, video games as much as I did, especially when our son was born. You know, I barely play any kind of game now. Like I play the Nintendo Switch with the kids once in a while, but that's about it. But when we first started dating, I was still playing video games pretty regularly, and that was like she was more disgruntled about the amount of time I spent playing games than she was about toys or reptiles.
And I can fully see that because that's occupying time that she probably wants to spend with you.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
and that's what it was.
Yeah, and I mean, I discussed that like before. It was last week with Joe when I said, you know, I split up with my ex, and I wanted to skateboard, and that's what I was doing. Here's this 40-year-old, and I'm like, if I met the right person that made me want to go hang out with them, but I don't really want to try and date because I kind of want to be selfish about. And for me to want to be skateboarding when I'm dating someone and her being like, you know, I would like to spend some time with you, that's not unreasonable for them.
Right.
Video games is very. You don't sit down like Super Mario Brothers and you play it in a half hour, you're done because you beat it.
Right.
You're going to be there for hours upon hours.
Yep. And I recognized that too, because there was already a part of me where I was like, I had gotten to a point where I was like, there's nothing really here for me anymore.
Yeah.
And it was easy to stop after that. And her, you know, her encouraging that, her wanting to spend time with me was more important, obviously.
No, and I fully understand that. 1 second here. I'm sorry, I just gonna stop my camera really quick. No, I fully understand that. And I think a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
Because I think in many of our ways we are selfish. I don't think when it comes to actually collecting toys, it's like the worst thing. Now, when you want to start reviewing stuff and you want to sit here and do live streams, it is very time consuming.
And so, like I said, we've come a long way. Obviously, we've been together for a long time. We've been married for 13 years. But
your son is 14. How does that work?
Well, Larry, when two people
I've never been married, so I know how it happens. We just lived in sin.
So, like I said, we've come a long way now, and she's actually the customizing thing is actually a big thing for her. She's very encouraging as far as that goes. I used to write a lot. I used to draw a lot. I don't do either of those things anymore.
Now this, I know I've never seen this person, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but we call him TZ. I was so blessed to have a wife who enjoyed the hobby with me, comic books, G.I. Joe, her with Barbie and Lego and Playmobil. I miss her dearly after she passed away in 2002. Take interest in your hobbies. Sorry to hear that, but it sounds like you had, I mean, that's great that, you had something like that. Like, I mean, that's awesome. Now, does she collect anything? Is she interested in hobbies?
She's a crafter. She likes to build stuff. She's an amazing artist.
So that explains why she likes to customize it.
Yeah, and she encourages that a lot. Like she's very behind the customizing, and I think that's helped her deal with the amount of toys as well.
Sorry. You having kids out of wedlock. With the profit director has joined us, and same with Emerald Knight.
Emerald Knight, what's up, John?
I gotta yell for my daughter. So, no, but go on about what you were saying about like her crafting.
Oh yeah. So she's big into that. She's an amazing artist. She's a drawing, painting. I mean, anything crafty, anything artistic. She's very good at it. And so getting back into something creative was big for her, and she likes it. Like, she likes to see the stuff that I do. She loves it when I, like the assembly required thing was big for her. Me and the boys going to that for the second year. It was cool. Yeah. It's really cool to have her, support the hobby at least in any way. I can't imagine being in a relationship where the person you're with doesn't at least support you. Yeah. Thanks, Curtis, man. Thanks for the follow.
And you know what? That's what I've always said. If I start dating someone, when I eventually start dating someone, I would hope I would eventually, but who knows? At this rate, it's been 9 years. You're like, I don't know. Whoever I date, they don't have to understand why I like what I do, that I like skateboarding, that I like this collecting. They don't have to understand it. They just have to accept it. Right. Just like if they, if they're doing crafts, I might not understand crafts or why you'd want to do it, or crocheting, or I can't believe I use crocheting, but it's accepting that it makes you happy.
Right.
Yeah. And as long as it's not a problem,
That's exactly right. I feel the exact same way.
And I do want to say that for, when it comes to customizing, like what you do and what Tony does and some of the other guys, it is different than collecting. I collect, I display, obviously I do YouTube, so that's also thrown into it. But there's a lot of collectors that are just, they collect and they leave them, as is. Yeah. When you start painting and customizing, you are definitely doing something different. It's not just, a regular, collecting. So,
yeah.
And I get that. And also it can take, I've done a little bit of customizing, very little. It takes your mind off it. Like, you just, next thing you know, you've been painting for an hour going, wow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny because, I don't army build, but a lot of the guys that do army build that I talk to, when I first met them, they're like, do you army build? I'm like, no, but I customize. And they're like, oh, okay. Then you're spinning the same scratch of customizing.
That's
on army building.
That is, and that's it. Like, we're all looking at like how we invest this time, where we invest our money. I mean, I've heard Tony kind of discuss like, well, these paints are pretty expensive, but they're really good, and you're just like, yeah, awesome. That's
I just
I'm gonna
saw
make a video.
I saw Owls pop up. He's on the Discord.
Oh, proud owls. Now I get it, and I can see an owl. Why does the owl look like it has teeth? Doesn't it?
I think it's like a default.
Okay. G.I. Joe Frontline represents. No, I think no, again, I think it's great that even though she doesn't understand it, but adding something to it that actually cost money. That's even funnier. Like,
Yeah.
I actually added to it, and it was like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I like that. But if she's doing crafts and she fully understands, because she's probably doing stuff that either, not saying you couldn't do, but maybe stuff that you just don't understand or find an interest in, but she probably goes away. My ex didn't do anything. She has no hobbies. She would always say, I don't understand this. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, you don't have any hobbies. I do have a hobby. It's our kids. I'm like, no, that's our life. That's not our fucking hobby.
Right.
Good Lord. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even my life ain't that lame.
Right. Well, and we've got shared house. We live on a farm. Oh, what's up, 3D? Yeah, we live on a farm, so we have a shared hobby in taking care of our animals and our property and that stuff too. So it's not just she has her thing and I have my thing. We also have that, which we enjoy doing.
So Curtis Ackerman says, my wife was very accepting of my customizing, but when she would see me buy soft goods and say, I can make those, right? Now she goes with me to cons selling tons of capes and action figures.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's awesome. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it is
really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that you're able to find someone that not only enjoys it, but then can actually add to what you're doing. Again, that's pretty cool. I haven't been that lucky, but then again, I tell everyone that their favorite things suck, so maybe that's the when I'm out on a date and I'm like, oh, so what kind of music do you like? Yeah, that sucks. So how deep did you start getting into collecting? Like, when did you really start collecting again? Was it before you had kids or after?
It was before. So I got back into Transformers. I still had a lot of my Transformers that I bought like in my 20s. Like, okay. I started getting back into it a little bit. Like I said, didn't have much room to display anything, but when I saw cool stuff or went to an antique store or thrift shop or something, I saw something I wanted, it was usually Transformer related. So I'd buy it and I'd mess with it for a little while, I'd put it away. So when I bought my house, that's mainly what I had was Transformers. I went and got my storage stuff out of my parents' place and brought it to my house and started displaying my Transformers. So that was my main collection at the time. And I still bought stuff from time to time. And that actually kind of went away when my son was born, my oldest son, because we were trying to move out of that house, trying to sell that house, trying to move somewhere else, somewhere bigger, somewhere in a better place, in a better neighborhood. So that kind of went away, and we moved into an apartment for a little while, rented a house, and then when we finally bought a house together, I had these Transformers, but I also started getting back into the O-rings, the OG O-rings, vintage O-rings, and I was just buying figures. I wasn't buying vehicles or anything like that. I was just buying figures, and I just put them up on shelves on my computer desk and stuff like that. And my kids, my two boys, were old enough that they were starting to see these toys and like, can I play with that? No, you can't play with that. That's Dad's. We started looking at another place out in the country. And at the time, I was just trying to clean up. So I sold all my O-rings. Um, and I still had my Transformers. I put them back in a box. When we finally moved out here, I got out all those Transformers, and we moved out here in 2018. So I had these Transformers, and I was active like on TFW for a while, and I was doing some Transformer customizing, but very little. I wasn't nearly as impressive as some of these guys that build their own Transformers and shit.
Really?
But
build their own Transformers?
Yeah, you should see. It's crazy if you've never seen some of the stuff these guys do. It's nuts. Especially with 3D printing now. Even before that, guys were doing it though. But
I'm sorry. This kind of made me laugh. Because I get what you're saying. That's why I didn't read it. All right. I get the reference of Transformers.
That's funny.
I lost my train of thought there. So you said you did some customizing with the Transformers.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that here and there. But I kind of started collecting. I sold off a lot of my G1 stuff and started collecting some third-party stuff. And then that started to get expensive. It was kind of like back in the day when I was a kid, I was like, damn, Transformers are expensive. So
so many of them, like so many different lines, and
and that was about 2019, and around the time that Classified, started showing up. I think it was 2019, wasn't it?
God, it's been 5 years. Like this is year 5, so
yeah.
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 End of 29. I mean, I know I started finding them during COVID.
Yeah, I saw. So the first one I saw was, I think it was Cobra Island, Firefly, and Beachhead at a Target a half hour from my house, like in town. And I remember walking by and thinking, oh, those are cool. But I didn't grab them. I didn't think anything of it other than, man, those are cool. 6-inch Joes, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then thinking about it more and more, like I got home and started thinking about it, and I was kind of on the fence about, do I sell my Transformers and get into this line, whole hog? Do I just buy in right away? And eventually that was the decision I came to. Like I said, my dad passed away in 2019. G.I. Joe was the old school G.I. Joes were a big thing between he and I when I was a kid.
Mean the O-rings or the 12-inch figures?
The O-rings.
Okay.
The O-rings, yeah. That was like, I remember playing toys with my dad when I had my Star Wars figures, but nowhere near what we did. Like, we would build bases and bunkers and stuff in the yard with the Joes. And so that was, the Joes had a special pull, right? So
I get that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. He sent me stuff. Yeah. So I ended up selling all my Transformers, everything I had. And I went back to that same Target, and the only Cobra Island figure they had was Roadblock.
Oh yeah, the heavy duty one.
The beard, yeah. And so I grabbed him, and eventually I did go to another Target. I think it was in Omaha, and I got Beachhead, and I got Major Blood. So those were the 3 G.I. Joes I had from the Classified line, and I had them, and I was, I'm playing with them. Like, I'm posing them up and doing stuff with them. I'm like, these are so cool. And then I'm looking for Firefly everywhere, trying to get my hands on Troopers and everything that had come out I wanted. I ended up getting Duke, the easier ones from Walmart, Duke and Scarlet and that other the mainline Roadblock. Yeah, so that's just how it started. But when my dad passed, that was kind of like the linchpin that I was like, this is the line I'm getting into, and I'm gonna just dive into it fully. And so yeah, I ended up finding a Firefly for a decent price. I wasn't willing to pay like what they were asking for when he wasn't on the shelves anymore, so I waited him out.
Got up there.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then I did some trades, and I started like thinking about all these figures that I had as a kid, from the vintage line. Yeah, he's still out there.
Yeah, he's him and barbecue.
Yeah.
Because I need another barbecue. I just don't want to buy it. His backpack is broken. So I think he's the only figure I have that has a broken piece that I don't have a complete one. I mean, I still have all the pieces, it's just broken. I don't want to spend $25 to replace them.
Yeah, man, the Cobra Island stuff, like I came into it late too. So Curtis, thanks, man. Yeah, that's like I said, that was a pretty special thing that he and I had together. One of those things you just don't forget as a kid, blowing up GI Joes and with fireworks and digging holes and shit in the backyard.
See, I never did that. I let other people break theirs. And we're like, well, we'll take mine down the steps. You can shoot your All Striker down there. That's fine. Mine is going to go down there in my hand.
Yeah, I had a older kid that he used to shoot his GI Joes with BB gun, and I think I can't remember when I told this story last, but he came over to my dad's place and he was setting up his O-ring figures on the back fence, sticking them between the chain link and the bar, and we're going to shoot him with the BB gun. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. His toys will shoot him, and he sticks the battle armor Cobra Commander, and I'm like, whoa. I don't have that one. Are we going to shoot that one, or can I just take it? And he's like, oh, I don't care, take it. So I pocket this battle armor Cobra Commander, saved him from the firing line.
And he even had battle armor on. You didn't even need to save him. No, I think there's a lot of people when it comes to G.I. Joe, Motu. I can't speak for Transformers because there's really no one that's like in our community that seems to be Transformers guys. But I would assume Transformers, like those three, would really, obviously Star Wars. I think Star Wars is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
But I think like those, there definitely is that nostalgic feeling to it. I know for me, that aircraft carrier, which was mine from when I was a kid, but that was before my mom passed away. Right. So all that O-ring stuff, like it has, like when I go in that room, it is just like, if I sit back, it takes you back to a time when my mom was still around. Obviously, you didn't have bills, and your whole life revolved around playing toys.
Right.
And in all honesty, the classified line was kind of that extension of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think it would ever be the same, but I mean, I have a whole new set of feelings when it comes to the classified, getting them. But when you open them up, sometimes you're just like, now some of my feelings are a little bit different because I'm doing it on camera now. So, but part of the reason why my reviews come out so quickly is because I do them opening, and I don't know how people buy stuff. I don't understand how people collect toys, and they're like, oh, I bought that. I've had it for like a month. And I'm like, and it's not open? I'll get to it.
Yeah.
What? What? It's not like what? Like no, it's not.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't have anything. I can't think of anything that I still have that isn't open.
Oh man, Chris says my mom spent weeks building me a Jabba's palace out of cardboard and construction paper. It was my favorite player I ever had.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Stuff like that is really cool. I mean, I told a story the other day. Everyone came over to my house because I had all the guns for like playing army. But one guy, he had nothing. Like he lived with his grandmother and his aunt, and he made a bazooka out of a roll of wrapping paper, stuck a pencil through it, and took one of those 3D glasses and cut it out and made that for the eye thing. And anytime I got to play with the bazooka, I gave him any gun that I had because I wanted to play with the bazooka. And here he is, like, and this guy was a big motherfucker, dude. And I mean, like, he was a bouncer, like, because I was friends with him like years later. Like, this is he was like embarrassed that he had this, and here I am, all these guns, and I'm like, here, what gun do you want? I want to play with that one. Well, I want the bazooka. He run around there, has a pencil, but like he put the eyesight on it and everything, and it was like that was super creative to me. Ed says Charlock just needed some asshole kid to steal one of his toys for not treating it right.
Hey man, I never played with my Transformers in sand, all right?
So when you got it all into classified, now do you have all the classified figures?
No. So after Cobra Island, I started to do the whole completionist thing. And as that went on, I was like, do I really need to do this? And the answer for me was, I don't need to do this. So I sold off my Python Patrol and my Tiger Force. Got both of those guys, or all those guys went out the door. So I'm just doing the main line and some of the retros here and there, but not everything.
So you're saying I don't have to buy all the G.I. Joe?
And well, I'm doing HasLab too, so I gotta save some money where I can.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mentioned it before. If I wasn't monetized and doing what I do, I wouldn't have the money to buy everything that I buy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even an overstatement. That is a complete truth. That it's just the amount of stuff that I'm purchasing, and I can't do it without the monetization. And I've been really lucky. You know, I've been really lucky with how this has worked out. So, but yeah, being a completionist with the classify line.
Yeah,
I mean, I've done it. I've 145 figures so far. 146 because 00 Snake Eyes.
I don't know how many I have. Well, I got customs too, so you know.
Well, I have more than that.
Excuse the line, but oh yeah.
I mean, I have doubles.
I have some. Well, I have some. Like, I don't army build, like I said, but some of the troopers, like the Night Creepers, I had to get more than one Night Creeper because it was one of my favorite figures as a kid. I've got a few red and blue ninjas. I've got some Vipers, stuff like that. But I don't, I go 2 or 3 here on some of those, but I try not to go above that on anything. I'd probably buy more Night Creepers if I thought about it too hard, just because I like them. But
the way that I see it is those movie figures have already been purchased. The movie figures actually weren't bad figures. The movie was just really bad. But I did retire that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. They are both now sitting in their box. But I thought the Baroness was actually a really good figure. I thought Akiko was a good figure, other than her stupid boots. And Scarlet actually looked better than I think the original Scarlet. But I mean, if I didn't have them, if I wasn't a completionist, I guess I probably wouldn't care that I don't have them. But now all the boxes, they're all in numerical order.
So I have a funny story about the movie figures too. I ordered Spirit and one other figure from Big Bad, and my Spirit was one that had the weird hip issue. So I called them, and usually their customer service is pretty good. They had me send it back to them because I hadn't opened it. I could tell that the leg was weird. They sent me back Spirit, and they sent a movie Storm Shadow and a movie Snake Eyes in the box with them. And so I called them, and I was like, I think I got these by mistake. You replaced the Spirit for me, but I got these two figures by mistake. And they're like, don't worry about it, just keep them. So those are the only two movie figures other than Akiko, that I bought for a custom.
They were like, no, they're yours. No, I want to send them back. No, they're yours.
I don't want them. No.
Did you just hear a click?
Yeah.
No, I want to send them away. Wait. I want to send it back to you.
Call it back. It's just a busy signal.
The Night Creepers, and I have no attachment to the Night Creeper. I picked one up. I picked the O-ring up for the first one I ever had on the way back from Disney 2 years ago. So it was the first one I ever gotten because I stopped at Second Chance Toys in Georgia. So I was, and then they announced that it was coming. So it worked out perfect because then I had him to compare when they came out. But I think the Night Creepers are actually pretty good. I like to have an assortment of weapons, so you don't have to have the exact same one. Yeah. Curtis says boxes in numerical order. Wait, is Lawrence an inbox collector? Does it look like I'm an inbox collector? I keep all my boxes. I just made a video a few weeks ago, putting up new shelves and how to put shelves up, just so I could put all the boxes, all the classified boxes, in numerical order. That's the whole purpose of doing that video, was so I could have them in numerical order. The problem is, I probably got about another year, maybe 2 years before the shelves are full. But that also means I got to move the HasLab boxes because they're taking up space too.
Yeah, I just put these up maybe a month or two ago, and they're larger, they're deeper shelves, so I can get my Vamp and my Stinger up there, and the Watchtower. And then I've got some shelves up here above my desk. Then I got some shelves over here and a bookcase where my Knox are. Then my work tables are back here.
So it had a heavy metal really quick here. So I don't ever really show you guys, but now I just put up a shelf over here. So you see the shelf behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll probably put another shelf up here above that one. But I just put that shelf in after and put all the lights on. That's just the stuff that I put in here. All my stuff, I have the G.I. Joe room downstairs. Then I put the boxes up on the shelf. My living room is where all my classified stuff is. It is. I'm going to run out of room. All right? I'm going to run out of room. I don't even know where I'm going to put. This thing is here not just because I need hey, look, I got it in the background. It has nowhere else to go. What was Curtis says, okay, I was going to have to unsubscribe and burn my phone if you were an inbox collector. No, dude, God bless you. or Allah bless you, or I don't care what it is. If you are, but fuck that, dude. I want the toys are there to be played with, man. I remember there was a guy that had, and it was my mom's best friend's husband, and he had an original GTO, and it sat there under a tarp for years. And I remember asking my dad, I'm like, would you drive it if you had it? He's like, what's the use of having it if you're not going to drive it?
Right.
You know. And years later, the guy finally started driving it again. And I remember going over their house because their daughter was like a year younger than me, so I'd go over there and hang out with her and talk to her, and like seeing it under the tarp, and it's just like I think it was a '69 GTO. It was beautiful, and it's just like what the fuck, like. And then he finally started driving it like after over 20 years of it just sitting underneath there.
Yeah, I don't see the point of that either.
Jay Solar says, my wife loved your shelf building video. Thank you, Lawrence, for allowing me to assure her I don't keep my boxes. Thank you. That shelf building video did way better than I thought. Like there's like 3,000. There's like over 3,000 views on it. Like people really liked watching me build shelves. I wanted to try something different. I'm like, I can kind of turn into G.I. Joe, create some content out of it, and then having my daughter help me. And
the only boxes I keep other than the HasLabs are the exclusives that I buy. Like I've got the box for MOD Zartan for Chuckles. I didn't keep the box for Starduster because he doesn't look like a fucking exclusive. So
no, he doesn't. No, it's just a regular plain box.
Yeah.
No, I think some of those boxes, like you have to. If you have the Cobra Commander, what's the Cobra?
Oh yeah, I've got that one.
Cobra Commander, obviously Mindbender and
Serpentor,
Serpentor, they're really nice. But they put a lot of work into those boxes. Like they look extremely nice.
Yeah.
No doubt
I couldn't bring myself to toss them. So
no, and again, I think you're kind of a heathen if you do.
Yeah.
I just, I find it hilarious, like the people that like, I'm gonna make people cry, like they go on the Facebook sites and they're like crushing their boxes, and I'm like, what the fuck do I care?
Right.
I ain't mine. I don't give a shit. You're the one that paid the money for it. If you want to crush your boxes, crush your boxes. I don't care. You're not. I don't know what point you're proving. And if someone does cry over it, then that's on, that's on them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They have deeper issues than collecting toys and keeping the boxes.
I've never had anybody tell me like, well, you should keep your toys in the box. Like I've never had anybody tell me that before. Like I don't know if it's just not the people that I talk to, like, but I've never had somebody tell me, well, it's stupid that you take your toys out of their boxes. Like, well,
so I have to say this. If any inbox collector told other people that it's stupid to open your toys, it shows how stupid they are, because the more people that open their toys and there's less open, makes their product that if you're keeping it in box,
right,
I'm assuming you want to sell it eventually. You're
right.
raising the value as everyone. So again, if I don't give a shit if it's fucking the last Akiko in the world, if it's the only Akiko in a box, it's gonna be worth more.
Right.
It'll be worth like $7.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding? They refuse to blow those figures out. Every time you go to Target, you're like, why are these the only ones that you won't clearance? And then you go over and you look at Lando Calrissian, and you're like, and you, like, why won't they clearance you? Right. So, all right, so you fully get into collecting. What do your kids think of it?
So my two oldest boys, my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old. My 14-year-old he collects some classified figures, but he's mostly into Black Series.
Okay.
Star Wars. And then my 11-year-old is a Marvel Legends collector. So they're both into it. They think it's cool. Granted, they get to go to conventions with me, so they think that's pretty cool. So they like it. They think it's cool. My two younger ones are 8 and 6, so they don't. Dad has toys. They don't really think anything one way or the other. But yeah, before my oldest boy got into it, he had his own toys, younger audience toys, obviously, like Imaginext and stuff like that. Both of them were really into the Imaginext stuff, the DC stuff, for a long time when they were real little. But they just it was that thing where they would come in my office and, can I play with that? No, you can't play with that. But it's a toy. Yeah, well, it's Dad's. You can't play with Dad's toys. So there was always a little bit of that. But it's funny now because the younger two don't even ask. They just know. Just that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. I'm at Joe Fest and they're like, "Yeah, I'm an inbox collector." That sucks. You're stupid. I think the best thing about your sons, because 14 is really that age where, and I think it is more acceptable today than when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
But it still can be still can be frowned upon. But your son could easily be like, "Dude, that's my dad. Did you see what he collects?
Yeah.
He just has nowhere to put him, so he puts him in my room."
Yeah. Right.
He could throw you under the bus so badly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Curtis says, "I'm jealous. I have 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. They are all grown now, but none of them were ever into toys."
Huh.
No, I don't think, my son really wasn't either. I mean, there was for a time when he was a kid and he likes Red Hood. And he likes a couple things. No, my daughter, on the other hand, she'll go to any store with me. And she collects Lilo and Stitch. She loves Stitch.
Yeah.
And I mean, her room is like bad. Like, I'm like, "You need to clean this," and oh my god. But she likes Funko Pops, and she likes the blind bags.
Oh,
but
yeah.
she also likes trying to figure out what they are too.
Yeah.
So she's like feeling for them, and she's 15. She has no shame, and I absolutely love it. So I have no problem saying, like, if I was like, "Hey, let's go to Sergeant Red's and pick something up," she'd be like, "All right, let's go." Like, she might give a pushback because she doesn't want to, leave her bedroom.
Right. Yeah. I give my son crap for collecting Black Series, but that's just because it's fun. But he's got specific. He doesn't collect the whole line or anything like that. He's got specific stuff. He's more into like the original trilogy stuff than the newer stuff. And the Bounty Hunters was a big thing. He's still working on an IG-88 for his Bounty Hunter shelf. And then my 11-year-old, he's just now starting to get into Marvel Legends in a bigger way. He's always been a comics and MCU fan, especially.
Okay.
But it's mostly like Spider-Man and Hulk were the big ones for him. But now he's getting a little older. So he told me the other day, he's like, "Dad, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to find all my Imaginext stuff. And if his little brother doesn't want it, he's going to get rid of him so he can go get more Marvel Legends." So I was like, "That sounds good, man. That's a good plan. Make some room."
I really do have. I envy a lot of the collectors that are able to, when they're done with it, they're able to sell it and move on to something else.
Yeah.
I want to sell something because maybe I'm not into it as much. The moment I want to go and sell it, I look at it, I'm like, I bought this because I liked it. Now I'm looking at it and I'm remembering all the reasons why I bought it. And so I have a hard time being that guy. But a lot of people, they don't have that connection to it. And also, like, a lot of people are just like, "Hey, if it can go to someone else that's going to enjoy it as much as I did,
Yeah,
awesome." when I got rid of my Motu Origins, it was great because when I asked a few people first, and Oz was the one who said, "Hey, I need this one, this one." One of them was Triclops, and that was like awesome. You broke up one of the main. About to start having a sneezing fit. I'm trying to avoid it. And when I do, it might go on for 5 minutes, which is awful. But once he said he needed Triclops, it broke up. It broke up having those main bad guys. So now I'm like, I can just start getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, I've been
Even
there.
even when I did it, I realized I have a thing for the He-Man. I'm like, I don't want to get rid of the He-Man. Fake or anti-attorney. Like, I don't know what it is. And I kept, both of Cobra Khan and Camel Khan because I always liked Cobra Khan. I don't even know why I got rid of him. So, like the original one, I think it was probably moldy on the inside.
Yeah, I had some. When Motu Origins came out, I was like, I'm gonna buy a few of these because same deal. Like it was a nostalgia pull. I didn't buy them all or anything, but when I was ready to get rid of them, thanks Wade. When I was ready to get rid of them, my youngest son, he came in and he was looking at them. I was like, "Do you want any of these? Otherwise, Dad's going to sell them." And he picked out a few, and the same deal. Like once he picked out the ones he wanted, I didn't have any reason to keep any of the others. So yeah, I did the same thing.
And that's what I always say about like when people ask if I'm a completionist with classified, I'm like, I am until I'm not. And I think that first time that there's that I can't find a figure, once those numbers get broken up, then I won't feel. Well, I kept saying that I won't feel the need, but now because of the channel and I've reviewed almost every single classified figure, I haven't reviewed Profit Director somehow. That's the one I know that I haven't, and only because I was looking, I'm like, I didn't review this. Why wouldn't I have to go back and do it just so I can say I reviewed every single classified figure? Because I was saying it did in all my videos, and then I was like, dude, I didn't do it. Like I went through them all. I'm like, so I gotta see if there's any other ones, but it's once that gets broken up, I think then it's easier to kind of sit back and be like, okay, I can get rid of all this stuff. So as of now, like, is classified the only thing you're collecting?
Yeah, it's the only thing I buy regularly.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I have a couple of things like I have a Deadpool. I think everybody has to have a Deadpool. I've got a couple of other stuff. Like this was one that I wanted real bad, so I grabbed that when I saw it.
Who is that? Is that
Usagi Yojimbo?
I think it's the one. Was that the one that was at Ollie's?
I don't know. I don't know if it ever got to Ollie's. I got it at Target.
Maybe think of something else.
It was one of the, it was one of those that I saw, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna get that." And I've got a couple of Marvel Legends over here. I got a Predator. Just random stuff that I see that I think looks cool, and I grab. But I don't. Nothing like classified. I don't buy a line other than classified anymore.
And now, is there any reason for that other than space, money?
Yeah, those are the biggest reasons, honestly. Space and money. Seriously, money's a big one. I would love to get into like Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions. I think those are super cool. Savage Crucible stuff that's coming out, I think those are phenomenal looking figures. But I can't justify that cost, especially with something like Mythic Legions where you're paying $50 a figure. It just there's no way I could sustain something like that.
It all becomes pricey.
Right.
It all becomes pricey. And again, you are a collector, so you understand. $50 for a figure to me really isn't anything.
Yeah.
But it does it adds up. All those magical figures I have, I have $800 invested in 6 GI Joe Mescos, I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the thing too is like one Mythic Legions is potentially 2 classified figures. I mean, it doesn't add up perfectly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When I could get 2 figures of the line that I collect regularly for the price of one, and I did buy a Mythic Legions at Joe Fest. The Threes figure, the white haired gal with the purple robes, because it's super cool looking. I saw it in person. I was like, I'm gonna buy that. I think it looks sweet. I'm gonna get it.
I think that is one of the best female looking figures.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like that figure, that sculpt is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I know this one. You know what Curtis is saying here. Everyone says that until they get a Mythic Legion in hand. You know, I got one just to try it, and I really do like them, but I don't feel the need to go down that road.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it has to do with nostalgia.
I definitely, when I opened that figure and posed her up and saw all the accessories and the quality of the sculpt and the cloth goods, I was like blown away. I totally understood it right away, but I like I said, I can't do both. I got to do one. I got to do one or the other. And right now, I don't see the classified line ever falling out of favor with me. But if it ever does, I might go that direction.
Yeah, because I think what Classified has done, and this is all due to Lenny and I would say probably Tony to a lesser extent because he works with him, is that they read the room and realized if they kept doing what they originally started, this line would be dragging along, probably doing maybe 10 figures a year, nothing great. But they read the room and realized what people wanted to see. So they went more classic, which is great, but I also want to see an evolution. I want to see new figures. I want to see Classified be more risque, and because now you have the retro line, so you can do it all in the retro.
Yeah.
But I said before, if Classified didn't exist, and I was stuck to like trying to figure out what line I wanted to go all in, it probably would be Mythic Legions. And I'm not a huge fantasy guy, but I think it has to do with how wonderfully sculpted they are.
Yeah.
The paint is amazing. But now with something like Operation Monster Force, that hits your itch too.
Yeah.
You get these military figures and Marvel Legends, there's just too many, right? There's just, you cannot be a completist. Not that I have to be, but again, I don't need 44 Wolverines. I'm glad they have them if people want them. I mean, I see people complain about how many Snake Eyes there are. It's like, don't buy it then.
Well, there's guys that have full, several shelves just full of Deadpools.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. I don't need that many Deadpools.
And there are people that just like Snake Eyes. So anything Snake Eyes, anything Deadpool, obviously anything Wolverine. These people are going to collect it. Now, pick a Bishop so you don't have to spend as much money. I really like Bishop. I buy everything Bishop. All right, so you got a Mezco. I think there's like maybe 2 Mezcos, a few Marvel, a few Hasbro. So, pick a figure that. Oh, I hit a button that just brought that up. But no, I think with Classified, they've done a wonderful job of keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, I don't mind some modernization. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't need everything to look exactly the same as it did when I was a kid.
No, dude, that's just it. Like, these people that want that, it drives me nuts. It's like, I'm sorry. I like the way the original Challenger looked, but I don't want the new Challenger to look the same.
Right.
I want it, give me an update on it. And I feel like toys is like, there's the one thing that everyone wants to go back in time and be like, I need the exact same thing that we had before. And in some ways I agree. Now, when you do the retro line, I fully agree. Like, I'm sorry, if you need to take something away, from the line for that year to give them their proper weapons and accessories, then you should, because you're the ones that called it the retro line. You
Right.
know. But yeah. And Curtis says, I know a guy that collects Raphael, every version that comes. Okay, so now that would drive me nuts. Now, and I don't know why, because if someone collected only, let's say, Snake Eyes or Storm Shadows, wouldn't bother me. And if somebody collected only Deadpools or Wolverines, right? But for some odd reason, how can you only collect one turtle?
One turtle.
Right? Like, how can you collect only one turtle?
Yeah.
I would be looking at that going, like,
Yeah, I
like,
don't think
I need
I
to-
couldn't do that either.
yeah.
The one-off figures like Usagi, like I don't need turtles to go with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You just like the way. Well, and again, like, like if you, I like Donatello most. So if I just bought a Donatello because I'm like, hey, I like Donatello. But if I had a shelf of Donatellos, and like, well, where are the other ones at?
Who needs those guys?
Exactly. It's like good for you, but at the same time, you're like, you've killed animals, haven't you? Because as a kid, you stalked like animals and killed them, right? Clint Jorgen says, well, all the turtles had red masks at one time. That is very true too.
Yeah, just change
So
out the weapons. Every once in a while, just
get
change
away
out.
with that. But we all know they also had different weapons. All right, Creative Primitive says, what about those guys who are making 3D models of the original vehicles, just bigger? You've got to improve the designs or they just look silly. Well, it's funny that you say that because I'll be giving away a 3D printed Wolverine next Friday for the giveaway. That will be one of the giveaways.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
I'm with you. When you look at, and I have two 3D printed hiss tanks. I'm sorry, 3D printed hisses. They're not the exact same because he wasn't able to do the canopy properly because he just has an issue when he does clear coats. But they're based off the original design. And then when you look at the HasLab, you can see the difference. Like you can see how much better the HasLab looks. Same with this here. Like I compared it to the original Dragonfly, from when we were kids.
Yeah.
These have updates. So I'm with you 100%. I don't want to see it. The Wolverine looks awesome, probably because the Wolverine isn't a real. It might be real. But I don't know how real it is that there's this open cockpit with 12 missiles, and then once you're done, you're just like, what do? You run like, just turn that thing around and run away. But yeah, the Vamp and Stinger both had updates to it.
Yeah.
And I.
Well, and if that teased black and white or grayscale picture from
that's the All-Striker.
Yeah, if that's the Ostriker, it's not going to look exactly the same as the Ostriker from when we were kids. It's just it doesn't. You can already tell it's different.
And I like the idea, and I showed you when I did the review on this, how you can make this look as close to the Dragonfly that we had as a kid as possible. You can take off the back piece there. That's how the rotors looked. They made it so you can adjust the tails, which you can't see, and I can't scoot it. Even the missiles, they tried to make it so it's as close as possible without just being a complete recreation. Same with the Stinger, same with the Vamp. You can make them close enough where they look they look close enough. This is the thing that drives me nuts. I don't know if you've even thought about this, but when you hear it, you're going to go, oh, those people, I'm going to use those people. Okay. The people that are super mad that the classified isn't, or G.I. Joe in general, isn't the exact same as what the head is in O-ring, right? But then they complain about that, but then they go and buy gridiron stuff, which is modernized. And it's like, wait, you were pissed off that you're pissed off that Hasbro didn't give you the exact replica,
Right.
but then you go to gridiron and you buy stuff that isn't the exact same. It's modernized. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that drive me nuts, but I think if you watch my show, you know that.
There's a couple of yeah. Not just like I like the gridiron stuff, but I'm not one to bitch and moan about the changes in the figures and all that stuff. One of the ones I keep looking up here because I got some figures above me. One of them is Big Ben. And well, you and I talked a little bit about Big Ben already, but I don't think we're going to get another version of Big Ben, and I'm okay with that. He's technically, the Night Force version of Big Ben, but if we don't get another Big Ben, that Big Ben's going to cut the mustard. It's going to be fine on my shelf.
We're going to get another. Well, I think we'll get another Big Ben. I don't know how much they're going to change.
You think it'll be in the retro?
Wow. I mean, so far all the retros that they've done are more classic style characters.
Right.
But with that said, they're also doing, the retro card is also going to have a blonde cover girl.
Right.
Now, someone did point out someone did point out that the blonde cover girl is in the Mass Device, which is what they're doing, right? Isn't that what they're doing, Mass Device?
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I think they'll do it again just because they like to do the figures again in slightly different colors.
Yeah.
But we still haven't got another Major Blood.
Mm-hmm.
They still haven't released another Hiss Driver. I mean, there's some of these figures that we haven't gotten again.
Yeah, and I could see them definitely doing a retro Major Blood.
Yeah, well, I think that's been said that he's coming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But the thing about Big Ben is that the reason I say that about Big Ben is that he looks so much like the original version of Big Ben.
So does
the
Stalker.
colors he's in right now.
So does Stalker.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it's not like he was hard to get.
Right.
But with that said, I have no problem. I don't, when you hear these people complain about not being able to get exclusives or not being able to get this, we don't always get what we want. I mean, it's okay. It's okay that we don't always get, or sometimes you have to pay a little bit of extra. I mean, it is collecting.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I want to be able to have them all. But if I can't get one, then it sucks. And I have to go the aftermarket route and pay a little bit of extra. Find somebody in the community. I feel at this point I've met enough people in the community that I could probably get one at a decent price.
That's the thing is like especially with the Discord, like I know enough guys that if I needed something or wanted something really badly, it wouldn't take much to get my hands on it.
So 3 Star says everyone talks about the retros coming for a more classic look, but at 3 figures per wave, 2 to 3 times a year, it will take a long time to see some of those deeper cuts happen.
Yeah.
And they want this line to go on for a long time. But I have a feeling that you'll probably see it start to wrap up, that you'll probably start to see a few more. I mean, they're testing the waters because originally they were Walmart exclusives. Now they're just being put out there. I guess it would really depend on how much Walmart and Target want them out there, on those shelves.
Yeah. Well, and they could move more to Amazon too, I guess.
if Amazon wants to put all that stuff out there, 2 to 3. No, I think he was saying there's 2 to 3 waves a year of 3.
Oh yeah.
If that's what you're talking about. And 3 star says Big Ben looks damn near exactly like a real American hero. I think it would be a waste of a slot in a wave.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But I thought the same thing about Tunnel Rat, but I guess people wanted a Night Force Tunnel Rat.
But what do we always say about Deadpool, Wolverine,
Yeah.
Spider-Man? Not everyone was collecting, and everyone deserves a chance.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But I think there should be a slight difference. For people that are completists, they have the chance to say, well, I still have this Big Ben. It doesn't really change the value of it, because to me the value is that I have all the figures. Where you just came in the line and you're like, I loved Big Ben, but I'm not willing to spend $50 for him. Well, here comes another version of him. He's slightly different. Maybe give him different weapons. They got to change the color. You can't always do the same color.
yeah.
I would be more upset if they redid them under the same, with the same number, exact same parts, same color. That's what devalues a figure. Not if they do another version of them.
I'll tell you this: if they did another Big Ben, even if he was similar, but they made his hat removable, I'd probably buy that one.
Yeah, and that's something they could totally do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're going to do another Breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get the OGs all. I think all the OGs will eventually come in.
They didn't waste any time with Shockwave, man. They turned him around real quick.
And they changed them, so that was good.
Yeah.
Because those, I don't hate the aesthetics of the shin guards, but damn, do I hate the way they articulate.
Yeah.
Those feet are pretty much just going just to pass 90. Although still better than Nemesis Immortal.
the fact that his legs move at all.
God, I hate that figure. I think that might be the worst classified of the year.
Yeah, they didn't sell you. They didn't sell you on Cobra Law. With
He looks amazing. His sculpt is awesome.
Yeah, he looks great.
That first promo picture of the guy where he had him in the pot, I was like, God damn, that thing looks awesome. And
Yeah.
I don't even like Cobra Law.
Yeah,
And then I get him in hand.
Great looking figure.
His legs don't move. He does have a thigh cut. I missed that.
I skipped him. He looks cool, but I don't have any need for him.
Yeah. And again, like, I know they're gonna do the rest.
Yeah.
I know they're gonna give us a Pythona. I know there's probably it's gonna have to be a deluxe Globulus.
Yeah.
We'll probably get the Royal Guard, right? Why wouldn't they do that?
If not another exclusive for Globulus.
I totally think he'll be the exclusive. But yeah. Now this here. Now this is this is the type of stuff that Super 7 wants to do.
Right. And they can do that. That's fine.
Now, would this sell as classified? See, I think this one would, from people that remember.
This would be a perfect exclusive for like 1027.
Exactly. You know what? Like, that is absolutely perfect. Because there'll be people that go, I don't know what it is.
Right.
It's like the people that are pissed about Glenda. Well, you didn't have to buy the HasLab to get it. Well, I mean, you had to buy the HasLab to get it, but it's not a figure you needed.
Right.
You know, I understand the Wild Bill, but you can't do a Dragonfly without a Wild Bill. And you'll get a retro carded one.
Yeah, they'll do a retro Wild Bill
Fix
for
them
sure.
however you want. But like Glenda was like perfect. Night Force Crazy Legs and Ripcord, perfect.
So the one I am curious about how they will get him into the line outside the HasLab is Wild Weasel. because a lot of people want Wild Weasel, and a lot of people that wanted Wild Weasel didn't buy the HasLab or couldn't buy the HasLab. So a figure like that, how do you get Wild Weasel into the main line outside of the Rattler?
Well, I mean, sometimes you're just stuck not having a figure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Which,
yeah.
you know what? I'm fine with, because all the people that cry and go, well, why do I want a cover girl if I don't have a Wolverine? Well, you know what? You don't need a wild fucking weasel if you don't have a fucking goddamn Rattler. So fuck you. How about that? All right?
Yeah, 3-star.
Why do I have a copperhead without a water moccasin? Well, fuck you. You don't get Wild Bill because you don't want to fucking back the HasLab.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm single. Allison says a Jokerized Wild Weasel.
Yeah. Well, people were talking about him being the comic version with being included with the Rattler, and I was like, I don't want to blue and or whatever color scheme he had in the comics with my Rattler.
Yeah, no, that's perfect for a retro card or a classified version.
Right.
Right. But you're right. If you're back in the HasLab, which is way more O-ring aesthetic,
Yeah.
you deserve that. You deserve that. Just like the Hiss driver.
Yeah.
Very close. Wild Bill is like a fucking carbon copy. Other than his 6 shooters aren't, reversed. Which I'm fine with, because even as a kid I thought that was stupid. So Wild Weasel, something that maybe the Black Series should have thought about when they did the Rancor, and was like last day, like, oh, by the way, we'll throw in this Rancor Keeper. You didn't think that maybe he should have come with it? Like,
well, they could do the same thing with Glinda they did with Cobra Commander and put her out with the back metal torso.
I don't think we'll get another Glinda.
Yeah, I would be surprised, but that's she had the back metal torso as the O-ring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You ask about Big Ben, but see, Big Ben was a mainline release, right? Where I don't think we'll get another Quarrel.
Yeah,
I think that's come and gone. There's no reason to do another Quarrel, and I don't think there's any reason to do another, Glenda. It's there, it's done. If you want it, you have to pay a little bit of extra. She's not a main character. She's not a necessity in it. I don't think there's another reason to do another shooter. At least not anytime soon.
right.
But when you're talking about the OG ones, yeah, like you should give multiple times.
There is no OG shooter. There is no OG. She's right here. Helix. You know, they didn't exist, so they're fine the way they are.
I'm with you 100% with that. And as long as they can use the bucks for other things, then it works. I mean, how many parts for the Hiss driver have they reused? Not many. The legs are completely different. The torso is completely different. You look at the Viper, that new Viper, they're going to repaint that a bunch of times. Yeah. Because he uses specific legs. Same with Crazy Legs, man. Crazy Legs, his outfit, I don't know what else they're going to use it. I know they're going to use it for other things, but it has that texture on it. So other than when you do another version of Crazy Legs, unless you're saying, hey, you know what? This was good enough because it was a HasLab that we don't need to do it. But Wild Bill's buck and Ripcord are the exact same.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do a main line of Ripcord and Crazy Legs, because I don't want the Night Force versions.
Yeah, I don't think Hasbro Pulse would ever do that. It's Hasbro. I mean, even though it is different, Hasbro doesn't want to do that. Well, okay, yeah. So you can spin the belt around, except for the belt. does have the belt buckle, and they were also on his thighs. It was really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a really weird figure. All right, I'm just having those. I remember as a kid being like, "How would you do that?" Like like he's on his thighs. But anyway, so where do you see like on social media? Where do you see yourself going on YouTube, Instagram? Like, what are you doing and what do you have going on?
So I've got the Instagram. That's pretty much that is the only platform I use right now. For just customs, talking about toys in general, but mostly classified stuff, GI Joe stuff. I don't know. I've had a YouTube channel with nothing on it for for quite some time, and I've entertained the idea of trying to start a channel, but I don't know if that's ever gonna come to fruition. If that's something I'm gonna have the time to invest into. I'd like to do something. I'd like to think that I could do something like that at some point. But right now, Instagram's enough. I don't spend a whole lot of time on there. But when I am working on a custom or I finish a custom or something, or I go to a con, I like to take pictures of it and post it up there.
Well, as you should. You should. I mean, you should be proud of the work that you're doing because it's really good.
Yeah, and I've done some commissions through Instagram. I have a couple of people that reach out to me on a pretty regular basis and ask me to do stuff for them, or if I'd be interested in doing stuff for them. It's not, when I first got on there, the first time somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you make this for me?" I was like, "Oh man, maybe I'm gonna make some money on this," but that's not the case, at least not for me. It's really like 3 people that I talk to that on a regular basis ask me if I'd be interested in doing a custom for them. But it's really just more of a part of my hobby, something I do for myself now more than anything else.
And I know also because I've talked to Tony about customs, and a lot of people want you to do a custom, and they think you should pretty much do it for free.
Yeah. That's why there's only a couple of people that I work regularly with, or that I even consider doing anything for. Because it might not look like it, especially something that's more of a kit bash, or you're just slapping a little bit of paint on something. I've done both, but you still invest time. It's still time you're taking away from something else that you could be doing at that time, and that's valuable. And and if the person doesn't see your time as valuable, then you shouldn't be working with them in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do I say like people have no idea how much time I spend in this chair,
right?
And no one cares. They just want to be entertained. But it's the same thing. Like if you're going to sit there and customize something, 3D printing is the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to spend $200 for that thing. I can buy the HasLab for $300. Well,
right.
Okay, then go do that. But you 3D printed something. It's the filament. It's my time. It's my experience. You don't know how many times the thing fucking failed while I was at work.
Yeah.
That's why I do the same way. I was like, I do this for fun. And I'm saying me because I don't do customizing. But I said to Tony, like, he does it because he enjoys doing it and making his own figures for himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but when somebody asks him,
that's my primary reason too.
Yeah. And when when someone asks a question about like, hey, $150, like, I'm not going to pay that. The figure only costs $25. Yeah, I know, but I'm sitting here with my hand doing this, and I don't do it for a living.
Yeah, then wait for them to make it.
Exactly. Or figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more than enough tutorials out there and what paints to use and how to strip it if you need to strip it down.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a problem. And I know it does become an issue because if I ask you to do a custom and you're like, okay, well, that's $150. And I'm like, fuck that. And the next thing you know, I'm on Facebook going, Yeah, that fucking Charlock, it was 150 fucking bucks.
Right.
And all you can do is there's going to be people like, oh my God, why would anyone charge that much? You know, that's
Right.
bullshit. It shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah.
And then others would be like, yeah, well, you don't really realize the time that someone puts into it. I think that's the thing that gets lost is the amount of time that people, you know, spend on doing things.
Yeah, and there's other. It depends on the person that's asking too. There's other factors that come into play. You know, like whether if they're serious about it, then they're going to pursue it. If they're not, they're going to blow you off or tell you you're charging too much, or you know, like you said, whatever.
See, and this is smart. Like Creative Primitive says, I have like 4 items that I 3D print for my Etsy store. So it's real smart. Like you have 4 things that you know how they print. You probably have it down, and then you put them up there. And I would assume whatever they are, they're things you know that people want.
Right.
Yeah. I guess it'd be really stupid to only print 4 things of things no one wants. This is Okika's other swords that. Yes. So when you do it like that, yeah, you can bring down the cost for the 3D printing because you're constantly printing them over and over and over.
Yeah.
And Curtis says, when you buy a custom, you are paying for the parts, the time to do the customs, the hours to hone your craft, the paint, and the love the artist has for the piece. And I'm with you 100%. You know, the sad thing is, and I know you're big into Mythic Legions, Curtis. I think fans of Mythic Legions, because it is a very niche, you know, it's a very niche audience, right? They know what they're getting into. You go in those G.I. Joe pages and you're like, fuck, man, like, fucking Google something before you ask. Like, that drives me nuts. You ask a very simple question that a Google search could tell you. You don't need to ask everyone. You know, you just start filling up that timeline. It drives people nuts. So yeah, but Curtis, I'm with you 100%, and people don't take that into consideration. Fuller's Figures jumping in here. Charlock is a legend. Connor, great to see you. Yeah, I think when it comes like, and again, if you ask someone, you know, hey, I was wondering how much would it cost to do this custom, and they're like, hey, it's $150 or whatever it is. I'm just throwing that number out there. If you come back, if you say, hey, you know what, that's a little too pricey for me, I understand. You know, no thanks. No harm, no foul, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But when you start, it's kind of like the people that go after Gridiron for how expensive it is.
Yeah.
Man, I've gone over it numerous times. He's been on numerous shows. He's explained the reason why their cost is. And I was probably one of the bigger critics in many ways till I started getting to know how their operation works.
Yeah.
And you have to step back and be like, okay, this makes total sense.
Yeah. Well,
if you say, what?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't really going to say anything else.
I was just going to say a part of that is, like Curtis said, spending the time and making sure it looks good to you, but sending it to someone after they've paid you and them getting it in hand. If they look at it and they go, well, this is a piece of shit, I can't believe I paid for this. Because it's perspective, right? It could look great to me. And that was a big part of it too. Like when someone first asked me to make something for them, I was like, okay. And then I started working on it, and I liked the way it turned out. But at the same time, there's that part of my brain like, well, what if they hate this thing? And they just you sent me money for this, and I'm going to send it to them. What if they hate it and they send it back and they want their money back? Like, there's, you know, you never know what you're going to get out of the people that pay for this stuff. That's where it becomes, if it's worth this much to you, then pay for it. With the Gridiron stuff, like if you like it enough, you're gonna pay what they're asking for it. Not that they're not worth it, because I think their stuff is.
I like Clint Jorgensen coming in and doing the sports caller. Does Roger Drew come with a helmet? I'll take your answer off air. And David Miller jumping in saying, yeah, time equals dollars.
Yeah.
I think that and again, my buddy, that he's the one who drops off a lot of the stuff for me to review. He does a lot of 3D printing, and he really only sells to people in the area. And he feels bad. He's like, I feel like I'm charging too much. I'm like, man, stop undercutting yourself.
Yeah, I've had people I've told people that before too. I said I was working on something and I talked to my buddy and I sent him pictures and he's super supportive and I said, here's what I want to ask the guy. And he told me that's not enough. You need to ask for more.
Yes. I've told Greg that numerous times. A matter of fact, this will make you laugh. I went to a toy show and this guy, Brent, he's another guy in our area. He bought stuff off Greg that day. And Greg was up there earlier. And this was the first time I had met Brent in real life. And I was talking to him and I could see all the stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I was talking to Greg. He said, you up here. And I said, I wanted to meet you. And he goes, yeah, he comes in here and he has all this stuff. And he goes, I go to pay him. And he goes, oh no, just give me this much. It's like, it was like, let's say it was like 150. He was like, well, just give me 100. And Brent was like, no, we agreed at 150. You're taking 150 and you threw in some extra stuff. And Greg kept going, no, and he's like, dude, you're taking what we agreed upon. Like, I mean, that's what a good guy Brent is,
Yeah.
But, and I told Brent, I go, he does that all the time. He does that all the time where he's like, oh, I feel like, because my product's gotten better and I know Hasbro's going to come out with it. I'm like, it doesn't matter. These people are collectors. They want a fang or not a fang, a claw. It doesn't matter. If they want it, they know it's probably going to come. And this was before it came.
Yeah.
I go, it is your time. It is your effort. I mean, your printers, they're not doing the stuff. But yeah, so it truly does become that, I just hate that people don't understand other people's time. But you do IT.
Yeah.
Right? Now, most of our copy machines are under maintenance contract, but back in the day, 23 years ago when I started, we worked on fax machines and printers that didn't have maintenance contract. Mm-hmm. And it was like $140 for an hour, and it was an hour no matter what, and then it went in 15-minute increments. And people would get mad. Well, you fix it in a half hour. We shouldn't have to pay the whole hour. I'm like, if it took an hour, that's what you're going to get paid. Or what is going to, I'm like, that's just how they do it. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
And Fuller Connor jumps in here saying, my only exposure to Gridiron is what Lawrence has reviewed, and I've not seen one piece that hasn't been beautifully done. Most of them are good. There's been, in my opinion, a few things lately that have been a misstep. But for the most part, yeah, you just get more detail out of 3D printing.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why they do it. Master Hoarder says, I need a 12-foot flag. Could anyone 3D print one? Also need a 6-foot tall dragon too. The problem is the flag would be bigger than 12 feet. It would be anywhere from 15 to 18. Yeah. Because I know that technically what classified is only an inch and a quarter bigger. But when it comes to width and everything, they're bigger than that. And the flag is way undersized.
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly, but I think the Nimitz class or whatever the flag is, a true 1/12 scale carrier would be like 92 feet long or something like that. Something absurd, something ridiculous.
And Master Hoarder says the bigger, the better.
That's what she said.
A 12 would be a scale up version, but remember, like, figures are, I don't know how to, they're just physically bigger. I mean, I know they're bigger, but like, you can wiggle O-ring figures into spots that if it was scaled the exact same way, you can't do with a classified. That's the reason why it has to be that much bigger.
Yeah.
And put a couple sky strikers on that aircraft carrier, and you realize how small it gets.
All you really need is the
tower.
The tower. Stick it on a table. Paint the table.
That's essentially what it is.
You don't need below decks or anything like that. You just the tower.
We don't have planes on to put on it. We don't have planes to put on it anyway. So
Yeah.
Bobby will probably cheaper to buy a real boat and dress it up like a flag.
Yeah.
But anyway, I say we can wrap it up here. Tell everyone where they can find you and if you have anything else happening.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
It's in the description.
Yeah, Charlock Prime on Instagram. That's pretty much the only social media platform I'm on. Discord, we got a Discord server. It's called G.I. Joe Frontline. I run that with a couple of buddies. We got a handful of YouTubers on there that show up once in a while. But it's a good
I show more than Bobby B.
You do, yeah, you're right. But we got a little over 100 people on there right now. They're all good people. We got a good group of collectors on there. We don't just talk about G.I. Joe; it's everything. All toy lines, comics, movies, everything. But yeah, those are the two places that I'm most active. Like I said, I post custom stuff on Instagram, and I've connected with a lot of people between Joe Fest and Assembly Required this year. Connected with a lot of people and that are creating Instagram accounts and getting more active on that platform. So I probably stick with that. I don't really have any desire to go to another platform, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. I'm interested to see what the next year or two with G.I. Joe, just the property itself, go.
I am too. So Connor wants to know, before we go, Charlotte, tell us the truth. Have you brought Torpedo in the bathtub yet?
No, not in the bathtub, but we do have a pool. So
if you have a pool, I think it's essential you take the eel and Torpedo and divers out there.
Yeah.
It would be wrong not to.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of a necessity.
So I do want to say thank you very much. I had a great time with you, other than your technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell.
It happens. I mean, I'm just glad it didn't happen to me. That's really bad. But it wouldn't be the first time that it's happened. So thank you very much. Check him out. I do have his descriptions. I'll put the Discord in later on. So if you want to check it out, you can go over and check it out. They're very active. And if you make a comment in my section, I will eventually respond to you.
Yeah, we got a group of people that are pretty active on there. And if you're just looking for somewhere to chat in real time with other collectors about anything.
Yeah, it is a pretty active Discord. I mean, I'll admit it. And it's not just G.I. Joe, and Discord just can be a pain to figure out at times.
Yeah, there's a learning curve. It took me a while to get the hang of it. I still don't. That's why I have other people that are smarter than me working on it too.
And I know I had made a comment a while back, and I was like, I brought up something about it was shows and stuff, cons, and then someone I think they responded and they're like, we have a section for that. I'm like, yeah, I know you guys removed it because I remember it was in. Like, no, it's there. I'm looking at it. You may have subtracted it. And I was like, yep, I did. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah,
how I did it.
Yeah, if you're not used to it, there's a learning curve. There's a mobile app for it too. I don't even bother with the mobile app. I can't navigate that thing. So
that's what I have.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was great having you. I really did enjoy it. And I know we've talked more than a few times, hung out at Club Tarkin,
Yeah.
got to see each other shirtless. In pools, you take your shirts off, not because of any freaky stuff, you fucks. So, anyway, check him out on Instagram. If you're on Discord, check him out. I will put that in when we finish up here. Charlotte, thanks for having me. Thank you for joining me. I will see you guys all next time. I'll be on Monday.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Always love talking to you.
No, dude, it was great, man. Everyone, take care. See you guys soon.